Folks hear forgotten vegetables and picture something rare, locked up in a museum drawer. The truth sits closer to home, friend. You bought one of them last week for your birds. You've spent all summer killing another. And most people never learn the name of a third. 12 vegetables from the book tonight. No law ever banned them. The world simply set them down one spring and forgot to pick them back up. Every last one still grows fine in a pot. Farmland optional. So we count them down 12 to 1 by how deeply the forgetting went. Somewhere in the middle, the weed cracking your driveway once made a philosopher's supper. And number 1, an entire nation wept for it out loud, on record, and the book wrote the tears down. It vanished so completely that its name packed up and moved to a different vegetable, one that keeps a drawer in your fridge right now. If that gets under your fingernails, subscribe. All right, let's plant the book. Number 12, Arugula, the salad green everybody dates to the 90s and misses by a few thousand years. It walks straight out of 2 Kings, on a famine day at Elisha's table. And one went out into the field to gather herbs, and found a wild vine and gathered thereof wild gourds. They knew them not, and the strange gourds poisoned the whole seminary stew. Death in the pot, the students hollered. But the herb that servant went out hunting, the oroth, carries an old rabbinic identification. Gargir, says the Talmud, and gargir is arugula, the peppery rocket in the grocery clamshell. The safe green he couldn't find. Rome grew beds of it too and blushed about the reasons. So how did the oldest salad in this book turn into 90s yuppie chow? Restaurants rebranded it, plastic boxes priced it, and gardens somehow never got it back. A presidential campaign even took teasing for naming it out loud in the 2008 cycle. The price tag hides an easy secret, because this is the simplest crop of the whole countdown. Any pot 8 inches deep, plain potting mix, sun with a little afternoon mercy. Scatter the seed thin, press it in, keep it damp, and that's the entire course. Sprouts show in under a week, baby leaves inside a month, full rosettes by 6. Carolina's extension files the whole trip at 40 to 50 days, seed to table. Heat is what turns it bitter and bolts it. So while heat is leaving, late August through September, and again in earliest spring. And let the cool nights sweeten every cutting. If it flowers anyway, eat the flowers, peppery little crosses, kitchen legal. Re-sow a pinch every 3 weeks, and the clamshell habit dies by October. 2 Kings, growing back for pocket change. Next comes the emperor's vegetable. Number 11, the leek, the tall patient onion the checkout scale treats like jewelry. It stands in the book's most homesick sentence, a verse this countdown has visited before. Numbers 11, 5, and say the middle of it slowly. The leeks and the onions. Israel cried in a desert for Egypt's green kitchen, and leeks made the list. The Hebrew there literally says green grass. The old rabbis read leeks, and Egypt agrees, for Pharaoh's fields ran thick with them. Rome carried the habit home afterward. The Emperor Nero ate leeks in oil on a schedule to protect his singing voice. Pliny the Elder wrote it down, and Rome nicknamed the man Leek Eater. English kept the respect too, hiding it inside the word garlic, which still means spear leek underneath. A whole language once measured vegetables in leeks, and the leek turns out to be a pot vegetable by design. No bulb to split, no sprawl, one straight shank happy shoulder to shoulder. Take the deepest pot on hand, 14 inches or better, rich mix, steady water, full sun, and set pencil-thick seedlings deep. Then, as they thicken, keep drawing soil up the stem a little each month, because darkness is what blanches that long, white, butter-tender barrel. Clemson calls it a 120-day crop, so seedlings set out now eat as winter soup by Christmas, and frost never scares it. The pot becomes a living pantry, harvested all winter. One caution for the furry congregation: leeks poison dogs and cats, so pots go up high and scraps go in the bin. We handed the leek to restaurants and then forgot the recipe ourselves. Numbers 11, standing guard by the railing post till January. Next, a bean you likely ate this week and have never once planted. Number 10, the chickpea, America's favorite Bible food that nobody recognizes as one. Honesty first, the King James never prints the word chickpea. It prints parched pulse, roasted seeds, in David's supply baskets in 2 Samuel, and at lunch in Boaz's barley field. Ruth, chapter 2. The reaper's table at noon, and he reached her parched corn, and she did eat, and was sufficed, warm roasted handfuls. Scholars' best reading of that snack includes the chickpea, and best reading is where they leave it. Rome loved this seed enough that a whole family took its name, Cicer, chickpea, after an ancestor's nose with a chickpea dent in it, and the family's most famous son refused to drop the name. He'd make it glorious instead, he said. Signed, Mr. Chickpea. The modern forgetting ran the other way around. The hummus aisle exploded, and the garden never heard about it. So this generation eats more chickpeas than any before it, and plants approximately none. Fixing that costs one 5-gallon pot, and fabric works fine. Full sun, sharp drainage, a foot of soil, and skip the fertilizer, for legumes pack their own nitrogen. Direct sow in earliest spring, when the seed will shrug at a light frost. Then hold the desert rule the lentils kept. Water-shy, dryish makes pods. No bees required either, as chickpea flowers quietly marry themselves, so screened porches are welcome. Ferny little bushes come first, then paper lanterns, each pod holding one seed, maybe two, and seed catalogs put a dry harvest at 90 to 120 frost-free days. When pods brown and rattle in early summer, pull whole plants and hang them, or cheat a little and pick some green to steam like edamame, farmer's privilege. A pot yields a bowl, and the bowl is the point. Roast it warm the way Middle East street corners still sell it by the scoop, Ruth's lunch break rattling dry in a paper lantern. The next one is already at your house, hanging in a mesh sock for the finches. Number 9, millet, the Bible grain America files under pet supplies. It appears exactly once in the King James, and once was enough. Ezekiel's endurance bread, and beans, and lentils, and millet, and fitches, and put them in one vessel. Siege rations for hard days. And millet was the smallest grain in the jar, small, round, and nearly indestructible in a dry pantry. Now walk to the garage and read the birdseed bag. White proso millet. Same grain, friend, Ezekiel's own ingredient, bound for the feeder. It reached American ports in the 1870s, and mostly never left the feed aisle. Colorado and Nebraska grow whole fields today, chiefly for the birds, who have shown better scripture memory than the gardeners. Redemption comes cheap. Take the widest, shallowest pot available. Wait for warm, settled soil, late May in the south. Scatter thin, give full sun, and practice neglect, for this dryland grain takes puddles as an insult. Farm ledgers show whole fields drinking under 15 inches a season. 60 to 100 days later, the heads lean over cream-colored and heavy, the fastest grain of the countdown. Net them as they ripen, or the sparrows collect their usual tithe early, then rub the heads dry into a bowl. Toast it, simmer it, fold it into flatbread. It's gluten-free, if that matters at the table, and the old world fed babies on it. One warning made of irony: the birdseed bag is not planting stock, so order true seed grain. Next comes the one from the driveway, and a philosopher comes with it. Summer, 1845. A man beside a Massachusetts pond boils a weed pulled from his cornfield, salts it, and calls it a satisfactory dinner on several accounts. And he writes that down. Henry David Thoreau, Walden, Chapter 1. The weed was purslane, and purslane is number 8. The driveway plant from the top of the show, fat jade leaves on red stems in the cracks of the concrete. Hoed by everyone and named by almost no one. It may even hide in the book itself, inside Job's complaint about bland cooking. Job 6:6. Can that which is unsavory be eaten without salt? Or is there any taste in the white of an egg? That's the King James reading. Older Jewish readers heard that strange Hebrew word as purslane juice. Some Bibles print mallow, and scholars tug both directions. Either way, the verse is a proverb for bland. Mexican markets still stack it high as verdolagas, while America sprays it and buys iceberg, which makes it the most hoed vegetable on the continent, easily. Growing it on purpose feels like cheating. A shallow pan on the table, any soil, and seed houses sell a golden garden strain for anyone who'd rather plant than forage. Surface sow the dusty seed in warm weather and keep it barely damp for 1 week. After that, it's a succulent. Drought means nothing to it, and it comes back cut after cut inside a month. Full sun grows the fattest leaves, though it forgives everything except soggy feet. Pinch the stem tips at every picking, and each cut branches the plant double, and harvest in the morning, when leaves ride plumpest ahead of the afternoon heat. One look-alike rule before anything reaches a plate. Spurge bleeds milky sap and purslane runs clear, so snap a stem and check. Arizona's extension credits purslane with the highest recorded omega-3s of any land plant, and that stays research talk rather than a prescription, so route it through your own doctor. 2 fair cautions ride along. Kidney stone folks go easy, and the ASPCA lists it for dogs and cats, so pans sit up high. Job's bland herb, salted into a philosopher's supper, and summer's tail end is exactly its weather. Number 7. The onion, the vegetable that made Israel cry twice, once slicing it in Egypt and once missing it in the desert. Same crying verse as the leek, and listen to the ache right after it. But now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all beside this manna. That's a nation homesick for onions, and here the Hebrew word is certain, with no debate anywhere. Egypt took onions past dinner and clean into eternity. Tombs held baskets of them. Archaeologists report one pharaoh wrapped with little onions resting where his eyes had been. The satirist Juvenal joked that Egypt held the onion holier than most of its gods. So why did this American home onion patch quietly die out? One wrong word on a seed packet, repeated for 100 years. Day length. Onions bulb by the clock of daylight hours, whatever effort gets spent on them. Northern catalogs sell long day onions. Plant those in the south and the harvest comes up marbles. Clemson says it flat. Long day types cannot make a bulb in the south. 3 generations tried, got marbles, and told their kids onions were hard, when the onion was easy the whole time and the label was the hard part. Southern porches want short day onions, the kind that bulb near 12 hours of light, and the famous sweet Vidalia is exactly that, a short day granax raised in Georgia sand. So take 1 wide pot a foot deep, set short day sets or seedlings from mid-September on, plant shallow so the bulb rides the surface, and give sun, steady water, and patience. They sit green through winter, swell in spring, and come up when the tops flop over. Same family caution as the leek. Onions poison dogs and cats, so pots and peels stay well out of reach. An Egyptian tomb food, curing sweet on an American porch rail. Hold on, because the next one hides inside a candy's name. Half the list is down, friend, so take a quick breath on the porch rail. Somewhere out there, a porch gardener is hoeing up tonight's supper. Send them this video. Still ahead, sit a church riot over a shade vine and the vegetable a nation cried for. Number 6. Mallow. You've eaten its name at every campfire of your life. In the book, it's hunger food. Job describing outcasts scraping the wasteland. Job 30:4. Who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. Honesty on the porch. Scholars argue whether that word means mallow or a salt herb, and Famine wrote the verse either way, for mallow has fed the desperate across millennia. Rome served it as a delicacy. The old herbals brag on it, and country kids on this continent once nibbled its little fruits at the fence line. Flat, round, ridged like a wheel of cheddar. Folks called them cheeses, fairy cheeses in some kitchens. Free candy. Real candy came from its cousin, when French confectioners whipped marshmallow root into a soothing paste. Pâté de guimauve, the original marshmallow. Today's campfire puff contains exactly none of the plant, so the name outlived its vegetable. And that's this whole list in one candy. The word kept, the plant dropped. Growing the real thing back is easy. A 10-inch pot, honest dirt, sun or half shade, and family blood shared with okra and hibiscus, southern built for heat. Sow in spring or late a summer, and it forgives drought, poor soil, and neglect. Drainage matters more than dinner here, so keep grit in the mix and the holes clear. Let a few cheeses dry and it sows itself again, or snip them off to keep it put. And in warm winter zones, it often shrugs off the cold and returns rough and early. Pick the leaves young and often, because old ones go ropey, and a plant gone ropey anyway shears back by half and reflushes tender. Those soft leaves thicken a soup the way okra does, the same silky trick, and the little cheeses in a salad will make a grandkid grin. Pick from a pot whose water you know, never the roadside, since a roadside drinks whatever passes. Job's famine green, wearing a candy's borrowed name. Number 5. Lupini, the white lupin bean, and honesty comes first again. The book never prints this bean's name said plainly, but it sat on the tables of that world in every market basket. When Daniel turned down the king's rich table, he asked for the plain bin. Daniel 1:12, let them give us pulse to eat and water to drink. Pulse means the seed bin, lentils and chickpeas, and the rabbi's law books add lupines to it, with pages that argue over boiling lupini properly. Kitchen law written down. Italian kitchens never forgot either. The Christmas Eve bowl of salty yellow beans is this bean. Rome called it the wolf bean, cousin to the Texas bluebonnet on the highway shoulder. Now the skill, the part a whole country forgot. Raw lupini come bitter with alkaloids. That bitterness is a warning label the plant prints itself. People who snack them unprepared still land in emergency rooms. The old cure holds. Boil once, then soak in fresh water for days, changing the water daily and tasting as you go. And bitter means not done. That's the entire law. Buy sweet culinary varieties in food-grade seed, never ornamental lupine and never roadside bluebonnet seed. And hear the FDA on this one. Lupin is a recognized allergen. Peanut allergy folks can cross-react, and a peanut allergy household should skip this bean entirely. Keep the soaking bowl away from dogs and cats too. The same porch rule as ever. The growing itself is the gentle part. A deep 12-inch pot, lean, gritty soil, the cool season, earliest spring in the south, full sun, a light hand with water, and a direct sowing 1 inch deep. The taproot hates moving about as much as it hates puddles. Sow late though, and summer heat robs the pods before they fill. Get it right, and it pays in white flower spires a bluebonnet would envy. What got lost here was a craft, and the bean starved without it. Daniel's plain diet, dressed in bridal white. Next, the seed with 6 names. Number 4. Nigella, the little black seed with 6 names and no home. Kalonji at the Indian grocery, black seed, black cumin, black caraway, and on it goes. And a seed, carrying that many names, usually ends up carrying none. The King James calls it the fitches, in Isaiah's farming sermon, chapter 28, the sermon September's video sowed. Tonight, hear how it ends. This also cometh forth from the Lord of hosts, which is wonderful in counsel. Farm wisdom, filed as holy wisdom, and the sermon's last line lands on this seed. Archaeologists report Nigella in Egypt's tombs, the boy kings included, which puts it 3,000 years on the table. America kept its twin sister as a flower, love in a mist in every cottage bed, same lacy family, bloom saved and spice dropped. So read the packet twice. Damascena is the flower, sativa is the spice. Give sativa an 8-inch pot and one rule: sow it where it stays, since the taproot hates moving. Scatter thin, rake lightly, full sun, sharp drainage, thin to a hand's width, then let them be. Seed catalogs time it at 60 days to bloom and 80 to dry pods. Ghost blue flowers first, then horned paper pods that rattle when ready. Harvest is a church quiet chore of upending those rattles into a paper bag. Let one pod spill where it stands, and it returns on its own. Plant it once, and Isaiah reads differently. Anyone who missed the fall sowing from September's video gets the same door in spring. Toast a pinch on tomorrow's bread, and the kitchen smells like an old spice road. One boundary, friend. The internet sells this seed's oil on big promises, and this list grows it for the bread, while the promises stay on the internet. Number 3, barley, and the pushback rises on schedule. Nobody forgot barley. All right then, when did it last show up outside a soup can or a beer glass? That's the forgetting, the ingredient kept while the plant got lost entirely. In the book, barley is the daily bread of ordinary people, the poor man's loaf. Gideon's spies overhear a Midianite soldier's nightmare, and the nightmare gets told in barley. Judges 7:13. Lo, a cake of barley bread tumbled into the host of Midian, a peasant loaf flattening a war tent, and everyone listening understood both the insult and the promise. Gideon's farm boys were the barley people, the cheap bread army, and they won. Even Egypt's plagues kept barley's calendar. Exodus 9:31. And the flax and the barley was smitten, for the barley was in the ear. The wheat survived only because it hadn't grown up yet. Barley always ripens weeks ahead. The Hebrew behind in the ear is Aviv, the word Israel still uses for springtime, a grain so faithful it named a season. Pliny adds that Rome's gladiators trained on it and answered to the name barley men. The road back runs easier than wheat ever did. Ask the seed houses for hulless barley, naked barley in the old catalogs. Regular barley glues its hull on tight for machinery to strip, while hulless threshes mostly free between two palms, rub, blow, pick out the stubborn ones. University of Vermont trials ran spring-sown hulless from mid-April to mid-July, 89 days. So take the widest tub available, sow thick in early spring, give full sun and modest water, and net it when it leans gold. It's a gluten grain, so celiac kitchens sit this one out, and the threshed grain keeps a year easily in a sealed dry jar. Winter barley opens its own door when September ends, and spring hulless opens the door for everyone else. Gideon's loaf, waiting in a seed packet. 4th century, North Africa, and a church nearly comes apart over a vegetable. The scholar Jerome retranslates Jonah and swaps one plant for ivy. The town erupts, and Augustine writes it down, a bishop in Oia nearly losing his whole congregation until they consult the Jewish neighbors, who side with the old reading. Number 2 is the bottle gourd itself, Jonah 4:6. And the Lord God prepared a gourd and made it to come up over Jonah, shade over a sulking prophet's head, and by morning a worm had taken it. Full honesty here. The Hebrew word is strange. Many scholars now vote castor bean. And castor's poison keeps that plant off every porch list. A warning for a different evening. The gourd of the old translations is the vine worth planting, humanity's first Tupperware, dated by archaeologists in the Americas 10,000 years back, before pottery existed. Canteens, bowls, fiddles, dippers, all grown on a vine. Every farm well in the Old South kept a long-necked dipper gourd hanging, and strings of martin gourds swung on poles renting rooms to purple martins. Then plastic arrived, and the world forgot a vegetable could be dishes. Growing one wants room, 15 gallons minimum, and strong twine up a porch post. So, when the soil holds 70 degrees, let the vine run its 10 to 16 feet. Pinch the tip when it tops the rail so side shoots carry the fruit, and let a young vine keep one gourd at first so the rest don't stall. Carolina's extension notes the white flowers open at night, moth hours, porch lantern hours, and a vine that sets no fruit. Just needs somebody to play the bee at dusk, carrying one bloom's dust to another. It eats hard and drinks deep in August, then cures for months until the shell knocks hollow. Missouri's extension puts the cure near 4 months, till the seeds rattle. One taste law stands absolute. A bitter young gourd gets tossed whole, no arguing. Sweet ones cook young in old kitchens, and the rest become dippers and birdhouses. Here it is, friend. Number 1, the vegetable promised at the start. Numbers 11. And the children of Israel also wept again. This verse has come up twice tonight, and now hear its first craving. We remember the cucumbers. The fridge cucumber is a different plant entirely. The Talmud remembers that Kishuim wore fuzz, real cucumbers wear none, and botanists finally put a name on the difference. The Chate melon, a true melon eaten green like a cucumber. The 20 Plants video gave it one whispered line, and tonight it gets its chapter. The world forgot this vegetable so thoroughly that its name packed up and moved, and today, one seed catalog prints the Carosello types under a label worth reading twice, endangered variety for coffee money. Growing it runs easier than the cucumber that stole its name. One 5-gallon pot on the top step, a short cane teepee or a vine left to wander, sown after frost in properly warm soil. Full sun, water held steady, for drought makes any melon moody. One vine to the pot, 2 at most, because crowding costs fruit, and mulch the surface, since a 5-gallon pot on a southern step dries by noon. Go easy on nitrogen too. Minnesota's extension warns that overfed vines catch mildew easier. Seed catalogs clock Carosello types near 60 days. Pick them finger thick and young, rub the fuzz off with a thumb, slice without peeling, and taste it cool, crisp, and free of bitterness. Keep picking and it keeps making. And stragglers left to balloon will talk the vine into quitting early. Mid to late summer brings mildew season, white dust on the leaf tops. So give the vine air, space it, stake it, pull the crowding weeds. Clemson flags late plantings as the worst hit, so sow early. Then at season's end, let one single fruit ripen fully and save its seed. That pot starts the family line Israel cried for. The cucumbers. Found, friend. The book was right about this one. The world was just holding the wrong cucumber. 12 vegetables, friend. Every one of them common once and every one of them left behind. The people who wrote these pages could name every plant on their supper table, and we eat from boxes with ingredient lists we skip. So between the 2 suppers, theirs was the advanced one. Forgetting works quieter than any villain. One spring nobody plants the seed, and that's the whole crime. So plant one. The whole sermon tonight fits in a pot. The rare ones live at the heirloom seed houses linked below, because the dead racks at the hardware store will never carry an endangered melon. The Ark will. Now the porch question, and it comes in 2 parts. First, which of the 12 gets a pot at your place? Purslane, gourd, or the melon? Second, drop your growing zone in the same comment, because zone decides everything on this list, from short day onions to the fall arugula window, and every zone in that column gets read. Hit subscribe and the next forgotten crop finds you on its own. That's the whole arrangement. Next month brings the 3rd name in the crying verse, since October opens the garlic window. But don't go anywhere just yet, because our container orchard masterclass is far from over. Right now, let's dive into the next 15 crops that go from seed to harvest in 45 days, plan in September. Let's get started. Number 15, garden cress. The fastest food on this whole board, by a mile. Lepidium sativum, a close cousin to watercress and mustard. Peppery, small, absurdly quick. Edible shoots in 1 to 2 weeks. That's not a typo. Weeks, not months. You cut it at 2 to 5 inches tall, like a tiny green lawn. It will sprout on a damp paper towel. School kids use it to learn germination. I grow mine in a shallow clay bowl on the windowsill, barely even soil. Scatter the seed thick. Press it down, keep it damp. That's the whole manual. Let the surface dry out once and the crop's over. Small deal. You re-sow. It doesn't store. So you don't store it. You just keep sowing every week. A pinch of seed each Sunday. Fresh bite for your eggs all winter long. Grown indoors, the frost date stops mattering. Cress doesn't even know October exists. In Britain, they put it in egg sandwiches. In Arabia, seeds go in custard. One warning. This is garden cress, not watercress. Watercress wants a stream. This wants a towel. So why is the fastest crop sitting at number 15? Because it's a garnish. You can't build a dinner on cress. You can build a habit on it. Speed alone doesn't win this race. Remember that. The board rewards real food, but as a first win in 14 days. In a pinch, that's everything. Cress opens the count. Now the real meals start lining up behind it. Number 14, dill. The herb that refuses to make you wait for it. Anethum gravulans. Feathery and blue-green. Smells like a pickle jar with big ambitions. Utah State's fact sheet says you can pick leaves anytime after seedlings emerge. Read that again. No finish line at all. You steal from dill as it grows. Full size takes 6 to 8 weeks. You'll be eating long before that. It runs a taproot, so give it a deep pot. One seed's worth of respect. Sun, light water. Overwater dill and powdery mildew moves in like a bad tenant. Crowd it, or cook it in leftover heat, and it bolts to flower early. September works in its favor. Cool air keeps dill in the leaf business longer. The ASPCA lists dill as non-toxic for dogs, cats, and horses. Rare that. So your cat can audit this pot. For once, nobody has to care. Dill is hardy. Utah State says it tolerates cold winters better than you'd think. A light frost won't end the story. The frost clock bothers dill less than most. When it does flower, keep the heads. Hang them upside down in paper bags. Seeds drop, you bottle them. That's pickle spice for a full year. The leaves freeze well too. Snip, bag, freezer. Summer flavor filed under insurance. 14th place because seasoning isn't supper. But supper without it is just calories. Dill feeds morale. Next up, a famously slow starter that's worth the wait. Number 13, cilantro. The one crop you must sow on day one, today. Coriandrum sativum. 2 harvests in one plant. Leaves now, coriander seed later. Here's the catch. The seed can sit 3 weeks underground before it even moves. Utah State puts germination at about 21 days. That's nearly half our window. So cilantro goes in the same hour the window opens. There's no negotiating. Use a deep container. Cilantro runs a taproot and sulks in shallow trays. Keep the soil under 75 degrees. September handles that part for free. Summer cilantro bolts the moment you start liking it. Fall cilantro actually stays. In warm states, Utah State literally says plant it in fall. This is its season. Harvest when the leaves stand 4 to 6 inches tall. Cut, don't yank. Take the outer stems and the center keeps producing. Salsa stays on schedule. Some people taste soap in cilantro. That's genetics, not your cooking. Truce accepted. If it bolts anyway, don't mourn it. Let the seed heads dry right there. Bag them, hang them, shake. Coriander for the spice shelf. Second pantry, same pot. The leaves freeze or dry just fine. I freeze. Dried cilantro is a rumor of itself. 13th, because it makes you wait underground while the brassicas sprint right past. Still, a racer that hands you 2 separate finish lines earns its spot. Sow it first, forget it, get paid twice. Next, a gold rush survivor. Number 12, Claytonia, miner's lettuce. America's own cool weather salad green, with receipts. Claytonia perfoliata, native to the West. Round little leaves, stems right through them. During the gold rush, miners ate it to keep scurvy off their backs. Vitamin C in a weed by the diggings. That's history, not a health pitch. Pine Tree lists it at 37 days, inside our window with room to spare. It germinates in cool soil, 4 to 14 days. 55 degrees is happiness. That's the trick. Don't sow it into August heat. September soil suits it fine. A wide, shallow bowl in my balcony's shady corner. It has never complained. Part shade is fine. This is a woodland edge plant, not a sun worshiper. Cut the leaves and it branches into more. A polite, renewable salad bowl. Mild taste, no bite at all. The anti-mustard on a board full of mustards. Frost? It mostly shrugs it off. Cold season salad is exactly its job description. Here's the part I like best. Let one plant flower at season's end. It self-seeds freely. The bowl replants itself while you're busy doing nothing. A salad that renews its own insurance policy. My favorite kind of paperwork. 12th place. It's light eating. You won't ever fill a freezer with it. But a native green that kept miners standing will survive your balcony fine. History's salad in 37 days. Next up, a cabbage that's been to space. Number 11. Tokyo Bacana. The lettuce that isn't lettuce and doesn't care. It's a loose-leaf Chinese cabbage, Brassica rapa, frilly, lime green, and ridiculously tender. Full size in about 45 days. Baby leaves show up weeks earlier than that. Now the resume item. NASA grew Tokyo Bacana on the space station. It was the 5th crop harvested in their veggie units back in 2017. NASA screened a long list of leafy candidates. This one made the cut. If it can grow off-planet, your little balcony is not the hard part. Mine lives in the moss-green trough. Full sun, steady water, nothing clever. Steady water is the actual instruction. Grown fast and wet, it eats like lettuce. Let it struggle dry, and the leaves turn from silk into burlap. Why grow it over lettuce? Lettuce sulks at frost. This family mostly doesn't. You cut the outer leaves and the middle quietly keeps making more salad. Or take the whole head and re-sow the trough. 45 days, another round. Mild enough for a raw salad, sturdy enough for a 30-second stir-fry. One trough became my default sandwich layer by week 5. Quietly essential. 11th, because it's still salad weight food. The heavier feeders are coming up next. But when store lettuce looks sad in November, you'll remember this trough. Space tested and frost season approved. Next up, the vegetable shaped like a satellite. Number 10, kohlrabi. The first crop on the board you can call dinner. It's a cabbage cousin that swells its stem into a globe above the soil. It looks like a small green Sputnik that parked itself in your pot. Utah State lists the quick varieties like Quick Star at about 40 days flat. The old Vienna types run 60. Wrong packet, and you lose the race. So kohlrabi is a read-the-label crop. The variety name is the Deadline. It's shallow-rooted. Utah State says so themselves. Containers suit it just fine. My gray grow bag holds 3, 6 inches apart, 1 to 2 inches of water weekly. You harvest at 2 to 3 inches across. That is the entire secret. Wait for a softball and you get wood. Pride costs you the crop. Utah State's tasting notes, turnip flavor, water chestnut texture. Oddly, that's accurate. Peel it, slice it, salt it. Eats like an apple that chose a savory career. The leaves cook like any other green, so nothing in the bag is wasted. Cool weather keeps it tender. A light frost won't scare the grown plants off. Just don't let a hard freeze hit the babies. Young plants can quit. In the fridge, the globes hold for weeks. Storage food, not just salad. 10th place. Real calories, real crunch, 40 days. The race just got serious. 1 bag, 3 globes, 0 excuses. The board's about to get stranger. Quick pause. If a frost deadline focuses your gardening, subscribe. It keeps this balcony reporting. 1 tap. That's the whole transaction. Cheaper than any seed packet you'll buy. And stay for number 1. The snow crop is still out there, waiting. Number 9. Chickpea, a green most seed racks haven't even caught up with. Baker Creek calls it a cross between tatsoi and komatsuna. Remember both names. Crinkled, savoyed leaves with a velvet feel and a light umami finish. Now for the honest part. This one needs about 55 days for full size. 55 is not 45. I can hear you rereading this video's title. Here's the play. You eat chickpea young, teen leaves inside the window. Cut young leaves along the way. Take the full rosette after the frost. Because here's its trick. It's listed both heat and cold tolerant, year-round. A light frost doesn't end this plant. Your deadline is not its deadline, so it's the asterisk on the board. Sown now, it pays you twice. Growing this one is standard brassica work. Rich soil, steady water, some sun. 4 to 6 hours of light will do. Half-shade balconies, you're in. Trial growers found it shrugs off flea beetles better than its cousins do. On a board covered in flea beetle candy. That's a quiet superpower. You cook it exactly like spinach. Velvet leaves, no drama, no bolt panic. 9th place, docked for the 55-day fine print. Honesty costs it 3 spots. But a crop that carries you into winter is still insurance, not decoration. The mystery cross earns its keep. Next, a vegetable named after a number. Number 8, broccoli rabe. And no, it is not baby broccoli. Different crop. Brassica rapa again, the Ruvo group. Italy's bitter, beloved green with buds. The variety I run is called Quarantina. That's Italian for about 40. 40 as in days. The Italians named this crop after its own schedule. Seed sellers listed at 40 to 45 days. The name checks out. There's a Sessantina too, 60 days. A whole calendar written in vegetables. You eat all of it. Leaves, stems, and the small broccoli-looking buds. Don't wait for supermarket broccoli heads. Buds stay small. Small is correct. Heat makes the little buds fling open, and the flavor falls apart fast, which is exactly why fall suits it. Cool air holds the buds shut. Pick the center shoot first. Side shoots follow for 2 to 4 weeks. One tall black nursery pot by the railing keeps a skillet in business. Yes, it's bitter. That's the whole point. Garlic, oil, hot pan, argument over. Cool weather keeps the flavor civil. October rabe is the polite version. Blanch and freeze the extra, the old Italian way. Winter greens, filed. 8th place, fast, complete, and it regrows after every cut for weeks. A vegetable that ships with its own deadline printed right in the name. Quarantina keeps its promise. Halfway point. Time to check your own clock. So Chate comment time. What's your first frost date, and what zone are you in? Vermont here, first 2 weeks of October, most years. I read every answer. And the under the snow crop at number 1? Still coming. Keep your gloves on. Number 7, mustard greens. The crop with a volume knob for spice. Brassica jonesea. My pick is Red Giant. Burgundy leaves, built-in warning color. High Mowing, a Vermont seed house, lists it. 23 days baby, 45 full. Both numbers land inside our window. 2 crops in one sowing, really. Here's the knob. Young and cool, mustard eats mild. Old and stressed, it bites. North Carolina State puts it plainly. Stress makes the flavor unpleasantly strong. So fall is the cheat code here. Cool air, steady water, gentle greens. Grow it in a wide tub. Cut baby leaves from about 3 weeks in. Or let a few plants run on to full size for braising leaves. Flea beetles love mustard babies. Row cover from day 1 solves most of it. That white fabric also buys 4 to 8 degrees against frost, says Wisconsin's extension. 1 cloth, 2 jobs, bugs and frost. That's the kind of gear I keep. A note for the animal people. Mustard is flagged as a problem for horses. No horses on my balcony. But if livestock share your place, skip it. Frost itself? The curly types handle it better than the flat leaf ones do. Pickled, braised, or raw when young. 1 tub covers all 3 jobs. 7th place, big leaves, a fast clock, and it seasons itself. Efficient. Turn the spice knob wisely. Next, the machine that never stops cutting. Number 6. Mizuna. The closest thing this board has to a machine. Brassica rapa, variety japonica. Feathery, serrated leaves with very mild mustard manners. The almanac lists baby Mizuna as ready in about 20 days. But speed isn't the trick here. The trick is what happens after you cut. You shear a handful an inch above the soil line. It grows back. Cut and come again, round after round of it. One sowing becomes a stack of salads. Johnny's catalog language is quick growth and productivity. Translation, it will not quit. Mine hangs in the long gray box on the railing. Prime real estate. Brooklyn Botanic Garden literally wrote a guide on Mizuna in window boxes. City plant, balcony plant, bunker plant. It adapts to whatever you've got. It handles heat and cold better than most salad greens do. Team player, upright to about a foot tall. Then it flops elegant over the box. The mistakes are few. Cut too low and you shave off the regrowth crowns. Always leave an inch of stubble. That stubble is the next harvest. It won't store long in a bag. It stores fine as a living plant. A window box that refills itself every couple of weeks. In a pinch, that's everything. 6th place only because it's salad, not stew. Sheer volume, though, unmatched. The machine keeps on cutting. Next, the most famous name on the board. Number 5. Arugula. The famous one, and the one everyone buys wrong. Quick disclosure, there's wild arugula on this balcony already. Different plant. Truly. Wild arugula is Diplotaxis, a slow, spicy perennial. It got its own video. Today's racer is Aruca, the annual garden arugula. Different genus, different job. Cornell says Aruca can be ready 4 weeks after seeding. A true sprinter, 1/4 inch deep, an inch apart, thin to 6. Cornell's numbers, my chipped pot. Now the flavor physics. Heat and drought stress crank the pepper way up. It's why summer arugula insults you and fall arugula tries to make friends. September sowing means cool nights and steady water. The leaves come up civilized. Keep sowing a pinch every 2 or 3 weeks until a month before frost. That last sowing date matters. Cornell draws the line at 4 weeks out. If it bolts anyway, eat the flowers. Peppery little bonuses, not a failure. Pests? Flea beetles again. The same row cover earns its keep again. You cut the outer leaves and the crown keeps dealing for several weeks. Sandwiches, pasta, pizza landing pad. Arugula is a job title, not a garnish. 5th, famous for a reason, fast beyond argument, and better in fall than ever. Buy the packet that says Aruca. Now you know what the label means. The sprinter takes 5th. Next, a heavyweight that laughs at 10 degrees. Number 4, Yucina Savoy, Tatsoi's big cousin. Remember that name from earlier? A loose-headed Chinese cabbage type. Dark blistered leaves, greener stems, and real presence. 21 days for baby leaves, 45 to full size. Fits our window twice. Full size means a plant about a foot tall. That's cooking green tonnage. And the cold numbers get silly. Market growers report 10 degrees, outdoors, unprotected. 10 degrees, Fahrenheit. Your first frost is a light handshake to this plant. One Virginia farm's records run it December through March inside a plastic tunnel. So number 4 finishes the race, then just works the off-season anyway. Mine grows in a wide terracotta pan up on the wood bench. Space it about a foot apart, or crowd it a little for smaller heads. Standard brassica care. Rich soil, even water, and the beetle cloth early. Cook it like you'd cook bok choy or spinach. Sweeter after cold nights. Take outer leaves for weeks on end, or the whole head for one big pan. Common mistake. Treating it like tatsoi and giving it a cramped little bowl. It wants elbow room. Feed the pan, and it feeds you back. Every pot is an insurance policy. This one's the extended coverage plan. 4th place, and honestly, it was arguing for the podium all week. Big, calm, cold proof. Next, the crop that replaces spinach without the drama. Number 3, Komatsuna, the Japanese mustard spinach. This board's certified no-drama workhorse, Brassica rapa, variety Perviridis. Its spinach flavor filed under mustard family paperwork. Real spinach sulks, bolts early, and files formal complaints. Komatsuna just grows anyway. Baker Creek's numbers, sprouts in 5 to 8 days. Baby leaves near month's end. Full plants in 45 to 50 days. Cut it young up north. The Baker Creek listing answers the frost question directly. Frost hardy? Simply yes. The name comes from Komatsugawa, an old Edo River district. So the story goes, a shogun tasted the local greens and asked for a name. They gave the rivers. 3 centuries later, it's still an everyday green in Japan, Endurance noted. Mine fills the dark trough on the low table. Sun for most hours. Cool soil, 55 to 70 degrees, is where it does its best work. Sow a 1/4 inch deep, thin as it grows. Eat every single thinning. Harvest the outer leaves and the plant keeps dealing new ones for weeks. Stir fry, soup, salted pickle. In Japan, it's a staple, not a novelty. Blanch and freeze extra bunches like spinach. The freezer won't know the difference. Mistake to skip, letting it parch in a heat snap. Keep water boring and regular. 3rd place, fast enough, tough enough, and it feeds like a main crop. The spinach substitute that doesn't quit. 2 crops left, and both are family. Number 2, bok choy. The one crop your grocery list already understands completely. Brassica rapa chinensis, white spoon stems, dark leaves, 0 waste between them. Minnesota's extension calls it a fall crop, matured in September's shortening days. That's not a warning. It's an appointment, and we're right on time. Pick a baby type for pots here. Mei-ching choy runs 40 days. Full-size types can run longer, so again, the label is the deadline. 3 little heads share my wide clay bowl. 12-inch spacing math, dwarf edition. Minnesota says the seedlings are flea beetle candy. Cover them from day 1. Warm spells push bok choy to bolt. September cools that risk by the week. Once it bolts, leaf growth is over. So we don't gamble on late heat. Water steady. Those crisp white ribs are mostly water you arranged in advance. Cold-wise, it's tolerant, with surprisingly long harvest periods. Seed house language verified. With some protection, it can even overwinter. Row cover again. Cheap armor. Harvest whole heads at baby size, or peel outer stalks as you need them. The stems cook like a vegetable, the leaves like a green. 2 textures, 1 plant. Stir-fry it with garlic while the neighbors microwave their regret. 40 days, remember. It stands in the pot for weeks in cool air. Outdoor refrigerator, free. It takes 2nd place. Complete food, 40 days, cold tolerant, and grocery store famous. Only 1 plant on this balcony outranks it, and you've waited long enough. Number 1, tatsoi. The champion crop that treats your frost date as scenery. Brassica rapa, variety narinosa, a flat, glossy rosette of little spoon leaves. The clock first. 21 days to baby leaves, 45 to full cooking size. Sown September 1st, that's full dinner plates by mid-October. And then comes the part that finally got it the crown, the cold. A Virginia market grower puts tatsoi's limit around 10 degrees Fahrenheit outdoors. California's master gardeners are more careful, cold tolerant to about 20. Either way, your first frost, at 32, barely registers as weather to this plant. The gardening references note it can be harvested out from under actual snow. Picture that for a second. December. You brush snow aside and cut dinner. Every other deadline on this board died weeks ago. Tatsoi's still open for business. Growing it is almost embarrassingly simple. Wide, shallow pan, scatter seed, thin, water. Give it room and it lies flat. A green dinner plate a foot across. Crowd it and it sits up like a little vase. Both versions eat well. The flavor's mild, sweet, cabbage adjacent. Buttery texture when you cook it lightly. It needs no storage plan. The pot is the storage. Harvest is the withdrawal. Late sowings just grow smaller plants, still food. The race grades kindly here. So that's the champion. Not the fastest. The one the finish line can't stop. A crop that finishes in 45 days, then ignores winter's opening argument. One shallow pan of insurance that outlasts every policy on this board. Keep that. That's the board. 15 contracts, 14 clean, 1 honest asterisk. Fair enough. This strong El Niño may buy the north a few extra days. May. Plant like it won't. Anything the forecast gifts you is a bonus harvest. If this list gets seeds and soil this week, the subscribe button's right there. Winter's the next opponent. This balcony has cold weather videos waiting for you. Comment with the very first crop you're sowing. I'll be reading with my coffee. 1 packet, 1 pan, 45 honest days. That's all it takes to start. 1 pot before the frost, 0 excuses after it. Start small, keep the mug. But don't go anywhere just yet, because our container orchard masterclass is far from over. Right now, let's dive into the next 10 tips to double your harvest from potted plants. Let's get started.
At number 10, plant herbs alongside your vegetables. Most gardeners treat herbs and vegetables as completely separate crops. Tomatoes go into one container, basil gets its own pot, dill gets planted somewhere else, parsley ends up tucked into a corner. It seems logical because herbs and vegetables are often viewed as different categories of plants. But after years of container gardening, many experienced growers discover that some of the most productive containers are actually the ones where herbs and vegetables share the same space. The reason comes down to biology. A productive container isn't just a pot filled with soil and plants, it's a miniature ecosystem. The more balanced that ecosystem becomes, the easier it is to grow healthy plants and maintain strong harvests throughout the season. Take basil and tomatoes as an example. This combination has become famous among gardeners for a reason. Not only do both plants enjoy similar growing conditions, but basil flowers attract pollinators that increase activity around the container. More pollinator activity often means better fruit set and more consistent production. Dill offers another great example. When allowed to flower, dill attracts beneficial insects such as hoverflies and parasitic wasps. These insects help control common garden pests naturally, reducing pressure on nearby vegetables. Chives, oregano, thyme, and parsley can provide similar benefits. Some attract pollinators, others attract predatory insects that help keep aphids and other pests under control. There is also a practical advantage. Space is always limited in container gardening. Every square foot matters. Instead of dedicating an entire container to a small herb plant, experienced gardeners often combine compatible crops to get more production from the same space. A tomato container with basil growing underneath can produce 2 useful harvests from the footprint that would normally support only 1. Over the course of an entire season, these small gains begin to add up. Many gardeners focus on fertilizer, watering schedules, and container size, while overlooking one of the simplest ways to improve productivity. Sometimes the secret isn't growing more plants, it's growing the right plants together. Professional gardeners understand that healthy ecosystems tend to require less intervention, suffer fewer pest problems, and remain productive longer. And speaking of doing things that feel completely backwards, the next secret is one that surprises almost every beginner the first time they hear it. At number 9, remove the first flowers. At first glance, this sounds like terrible advice. After all, flowers become fruits. If you're growing peppers, tomatoes, or eggplants, The flowers are the very thing you've been waiting for. So why would any gardener deliberately remove them? The answer is simple. Young plants have limited resources. During the early stages of growth, every bit of energy a plant produces must be divided between roots, stems, leaves, and eventually fruit production. If a young plant starts producing fruit too early, it often redirects valuable energy away from building the strong foundation it needs for long-term success. Think about it like constructing a building. You wouldn't want workers installing furniture before the structure itself is finished. You'd want a strong foundation first. Plants operate in a surprisingly similar way. A pepper plant that begins setting fruit while still small may devote so much energy to those first peppers that overall growth slows dramatically. The same thing can happen with tomatoes and eggplants. The plant technically produces fruit, but it never reaches the size or strength it could have achieved otherwise. Experienced gardeners often remove the first flowers that appear on young plants. This encourages the plant to continue investing in root development and vegetative growth. The result isn't immediate gratification. In fact, it requires patience. But later in the season, the benefits often become obvious. Plants that were allowed to develop a stronger root system frequently become larger, healthier, and far more productive. They support more flowers, more fruit clusters, and longer harvest periods. Many gardeners who try this technique for the first time are shocked by the difference. Sacrificing a handful of early peppers can ultimately lead to dozens of additional peppers later. Giving up a few early tomatoes can result in a stronger plant that produces continuously for months. This is one of those strategies that perfectly illustrates the difference between beginner thinking and experienced thinking. Beginners focus on the first harvest. Experienced gardeners focus on the total harvest. And very often, the gardener willing to wait ends up harvesting much more food by the end of the season. At number 8, rotate your containers regularly. Most gardeners pay close attention to watering, fertilizing, and pruning, but very few think about the direction their containers are facing. The problem is that sunlight is rarely distributed evenly. On a patio, balcony, or deck, one side of a container often receives more light than the other. Over time, plants naturally lean toward the strongest light source. This can create uneven growth, weaker stems, and a plant that becomes lopsided as the season progresses. Experienced container gardeners solve this problem with a surprisingly simple habit. Every week or two, they rotate their containers. Just a quarter turn is often enough. This allows all sides of the plant to receive more balanced light exposure. As a result, growth becomes more symmetrical, stems become stronger, and the plant develops a fuller canopy. This is especially important for crops like peppers, tomatoes, eggplants, and many herbs that spend months growing in the same location. Another benefit is improved airflow. When one side of a plant becomes overly dense, moisture can become trapped, increasing the risk of disease problems. By encouraging more even growth, rotating containers helps create healthier plants overall. It may sound like a small detail, but gardening is often a game of small advantages. The gardeners who consistently harvest the most food are usually the ones paying attention to details that others ignore. Many people are surprised by how much healthier their plants look after adopting this simple habit. The difference isn't dramatic overnight, but over the course of an entire growing season, balanced growth often leads to stronger plants and better harvests. It's one of the easiest productivity tricks you'll ever use, and it costs absolutely nothing. And speaking of simple habits that cost nothing, the next secret is something experienced gardeners have been doing for generations. At number 7, harvest in the morning whenever possible. Most gardeners harvest vegetables whenever it's convenient, maybe after work, maybe during the hottest part of the afternoon, maybe just before dinner. While there's nothing wrong with that, experienced gardeners know that timing can have a surprising impact on quality. Early in the morning, plants are typically at their freshest. Throughout the night, cooler temperatures allow them to replenish moisture lost during the previous day. Leaves are often crisper. Herbs contain higher levels of essential oils. Vegetables tend to be firmer and more flavorful. By afternoon, especially during hot weather, plants may have already lost a significant amount of moisture through transpiration. The difference can be surprisingly noticeable. This is particularly true for leafy greens, such as lettuce, kale, Swiss chard, and spinach. Harvesting these crops in the morning often results in leaves that stay fresh longer after picking. Herbs like basil, parsley, oregano, and cilantro can also benefit from early harvesting because their flavors are often at their peak before the heat of the day arrives. But the advantages don't stop there. Morning harvesting is also easier on the plant itself. During cooler temperatures, plants experience less stress, allowing them to recover more quickly after leaves, fruits, or stems are removed. Over the course of a season, that recovery can contribute to stronger growth and more consistent production. Professional gardeners understand that harvesting isn't just about removing food from a plant. It's part of the growing process itself. The better the timing, the better the results. While harvesting in the morning won't magically double your yield, it can improve quality, freshness, and overall plant performance. And the next secret takes that idea even further. By helping plants direct more energy toward producing food instead of unnecessary growth. At number 6, prune for production, not just appearance. One of the biggest differences between beginner gardeners and experienced gardeners is how they view pruning. Beginners often see pruning as something that makes a plant look neat and tidy. Experienced gardeners see it as a way to redirect energy. Every plant has a limited amount of resources available. Water, nutrients, and sunlight can only support so much growth at one time. When a plant is producing excessive foliage, unnecessary side shoots, or old damaged leaves, it may be investing valuable energy in growth that contributes very little to the harvest. Take tomatoes as an example. Many gardeners are familiar with suckers, the small shoots that develop between the main stem and branches. Left alone, these suckers eventually become full branches that require water, nutrients, and sunlight. In some situations, especially with vining, indeterminate tomato varieties, removing selected suckers allows the plant to focus more energy on fruit production while improving airflow throughout the canopy. The same principle applies to cucumbers, peppers, and many other container crops. Removing yellowing leaves, damaged foliage, or overcrowded growth helps sunlight reach productive parts of the plant and improves air circulation. Pruning can also reduce disease pressure. Dense foliage traps moisture, especially after rain or watering. When leaves remain wet for long periods, fungal problems become more likely. A well-pruned plant dries faster, receives better airflow, and often stays healthier throughout the season. Professional gardeners aren't cutting plants simply because they enjoy pruning. They're helping the plant direct its resources toward the growth that matters most. Another advantage is easier harvesting. A properly managed plant allows fruits and vegetables to be spotted more easily, reducing the chance of missed harvests. Over the course of a season, these small improvements can add up to significantly better production. Many gardeners are surprised to discover that removing a small amount of growth can actually increase the amount of food a plant produces. Sometimes, getting a bigger harvest isn't about growing more leaves. It's about helping the plant focus on what really matters. We are halfway through our list. Before we hit the top 5, let me know in the comments, which strategy has surprised you the most so far? I read every single one. Now, let's tackle the biggest challenge in container gardening. Most potted vegetables don't fail because they're underfed or poorly pruned. They fail from inconsistent watering. Swinging constantly between drought and heavy saturation forces a plant to spend all its energy just trying to survive. To create the stable moisture that productive crops crave, there's one simple upgrade. At number 5, use self-watering containers whenever possible. If you've ever come home after a hot summer day and found your containers drooping dramatically, you already understand why this tip is so powerful. Containers dry out much faster than garden beds. During periods of extreme heat, some containers can require watering every single day. Miss just one day, and plants may experience significant stress. Self-watering containers help solve this problem by providing a built-in reservoir beneath the soil. Instead of relying entirely on surface watering, plants can draw moisture from below as needed. This creates a far more consistent supply of water and helps prevent the dramatic wet and dry cycles that often reduce productivity. The benefits go far beyond convenience. Consistent moisture allows plants to grow more steadily. Tomatoes are less likely to experience problems related to irregular watering. Leafy greens remain tender for longer. Herbs stay healthier during heat waves. And overall plant stress is reduced significantly. Professional gardeners understand that plants perform best when conditions remain stable. Sudden changes in moisture force plants into survival mode. Stable moisture allows them to focus on growth and production instead. Another advantage is efficiency. Because water is delivered gradually from below, less moisture is lost to evaporation. During hot weather, that can translate into healthier plants and fewer watering sessions. Many gardeners who switch to self-watering systems report larger harvests simply because their plants spend less time recovering from drought stress. While self-watering containers aren't required for success, they can make container gardening far more forgiving, especially for busy gardeners or anyone living in a hot climate. They create a safety net that helps maintain the consistent conditions productive plants love. And as we'll see next, once watering is under control, another surprisingly simple strategy can help attract some of the hardest working helpers in the entire garden. At number 4, grow companion flowers in your containers. Most gardeners think flowers belong in ornamental gardens and vegetables belong in vegetable gardens. Experienced gardeners know better. Some of the most productive vegetable containers include flowers growing right alongside the crops. At first glance, it may seem like you're wasting valuable space that could be used for food production. In reality, certain flowers can actually help increase harvests. That's because vegetables don't grow in isolation. They're part of a larger ecosystem that includes pollinators, beneficial insects, and even predators that help control pests. One of the best examples is marigolds. For decades, gardeners have planted marigolds near vegetables because of their ability to attract beneficial insects and add diversity to the growing environment. Nasturtiums are another favorite. Not only do they produce beautiful flowers, but they can also attract aphids away from more valuable crops, acting as a trap crop. Calendula, alyssum, and borage provide similar benefits by attracting pollinators and predatory insects that help maintain balance in the garden. Pollination is especially important for crops like cucumbers, squash, and many fruiting vegetables. The more pollinator activity around your containers, the greater the chances of successful fruit production. A container filled with flowers often becomes a magnet for bees and other beneficial insects. Those visitors don't just stop at the flowers. They move throughout the garden, helping nearby vegetables as well. There's another advantage that many gardeners overlook. Flowers increase biodiversity. A diverse growing environment tends to be more resilient than one dominated by a single crop. Pest outbreaks are often less severe, beneficial insect populations are stronger, and the overall health of the garden improves. Professional gardeners understand that productivity isn't just about feeding the plants. It's about creating conditions that allow nature to help. Sometimes the best way to grow more vegetables is to plant a few flowers. And speaking of creating better growing conditions, the next secret focuses on something hiding beneath the surface of every container. Most gardeners spend plenty of time thinking about the plants above ground, but experienced growers know that what's happening below ground is often even more important. At number 3, refresh your potting mix instead of reusing it forever. One of the most common mistakes in container gardening is assuming that potting mix lasts indefinitely. After all, if a container produced vegetables last year, why shouldn't it work just as well this year? The problem is that container soil changes over time. Every season, plants remove nutrients, organic matter breaks down, soil structure gradually deteriorates. Repeated watering causes fine particles to settle and compact. What started as light, fluffy potting mix can eventually become dense, tired, and far less productive. Professional gardeners rarely replace every bit of potting mix each year, but they almost always refresh it. A common strategy is removing a portion of the old mix and replacing it with fresh compost, new potting soil, or other organic material. This restores structure, improves drainage, and replenishes nutrients that have been depleted by previous crops. Think about what happens during a growing season. Tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, and other vegetables are constantly pulling nutrients out of the soil to build leaves, stems, flowers, and fruit. By the end of the season, that container has supported months of production. Expecting the soil to perform exactly the same way without any renewal is a bit like expecting a rechargeable battery to hold its full charge forever. Fresh potting mix doesn't just provide nutrients, it improves root development. Healthy roots need oxygen as much as they need water. When soil becomes compacted, root growth slows and overall plant performance often declines. Many gardeners are amazed by how much stronger their plants look after simply refreshing their containers before the growing season begins. The most productive gardeners understand that every harvest begins with healthy soil. Before worrying about fertilizers, pruning, or watering schedules, they make sure the growing medium itself is capable of supporting vigorous growth. Because when roots are healthy, everything above ground tends to improve as well. And as we're about to see, the final 2 secrets on this list may be the biggest difference between average harvests and truly exceptional ones. At number 2, plant successions, not just crops. One of the biggest differences between beginner gardeners and experienced gardeners isn't what they grow, it's how they use time. Most beginners plant a container, harvest the crop, and then leave that container sitting empty for weeks, sometimes even months. Without realizing it, they're wasting one of the most valuable resources in gardening, the growing season itself. Every day a container sits empty is a day that space could have been producing food. Professional gardeners think differently. They don't see a container as a place to grow a single crop. They see it as productive real estate that should be working for as much of the year as possible. The moment one crop finishes, another is ready to take its place. For example, a gardener might start the season with lettuce, spinach, or radishes in early spring. Once warmer weather arrives and those cool season crops begin to struggle, the container is immediately replanted with bush beans, peppers, cucumbers, or another summer crop. Then when autumn approaches, the cycle begins again with kale, Swiss chard, or other cool weather vegetables. Suddenly, that same container isn't producing one harvest. It's producing 3 separate harvests in a single year. The space never sits idle. The soil remains productive, and the gardener dramatically increases the amount of food grown without adding a single extra container. This strategy is known as succession planting, and it's one of the most powerful productivity secrets in container gardening. Instead of focusing only on making individual plants more productive, experienced gardeners focus on making every container productive for a longer period of time. Over the course of an entire growing season, that difference can be enormous. Many gardeners are surprised to discover that they don't actually need more containers. They simply need to get more production from the containers they already have. But as effective as succession planting can be, there is one strategy that may be even more powerful. Because the #1 secret isn't about growing more crops. It's about choosing crops that keep producing month after month from the very same plant. At number 1, start harvesting leaves earlier and more often. Many gardeners accidentally reduce their harvests because they're too patient. They wait for plants to become larger. They wait for leaves to reach maximum size. They wait for the perfect harvest. Unfortunately, plants don't always reward that approach. Experienced gardeners understand that many leafy vegetables respond incredibly well to regular harvesting. Crops like kale, Swiss chard, collard greens, garlic chives, Malabar spinach, and many herbs actually become more productive when harvested correctly. Instead of waiting for the entire plant to mature, they harvest the outer leaves first and allow the center to continue producing new growth. This simple technique transforms a one-time harvest into months of continuous production. Every time leaves are removed, the plant responds by generating more growth. The process repeats again and again throughout the season. That's why some gardeners seem to harvest from the same container for months, while others get only a few weeks of production. There's another benefit as well. Younger leaves are often more tender, more flavorful, and better suited for fresh eating. Rather than waiting for a massive harvest all at once, experienced gardeners enjoy a steady supply of fresh vegetables week after week. This approach completely changes how you think about productivity. Instead of measuring success by the size of a single harvest, you begin measuring success by the total amount of food produced over time. And when viewed that way, continuous harvesting often outperforms almost every other strategy. Many of the most productive vegetables in the world share one thing in common. They keep giving, harvest after harvest, week after week, month after month. That's why experienced gardeners love them. They're not just growing vegetables, they're creating a renewable food source that keeps rewarding them throughout the season. The truth is that highly productive container gardens aren't usually the result of one big secret. They're built from dozens of small decisions that work together. Rotating containers for even growth, harvesting at the right time of day, pruning strategically, maintaining consistent moisture, attracting pollinators, refreshing soil, replanting quickly after harvests. None of these techniques are complicated, but together, they create an environment where plants can perform at their absolute best. And that's what separates average gardeners from exceptional ones. It's rarely about working harder. It's about understanding how plants grow and making small adjustments that help them succeed. The good news is that you don't need a larger yard, a greenhouse, or expensive equipment to apply these ideas. Most of them can be implemented immediately, using the containers you already have. Start with just one or two of these strategies and pay attention to the results. Chances are, you'll notice healthier plants, longer harvests, and more food from the same amount of space. Then add another technique, and another. Before long, you'll be amazed at how productive a container garden can become.
But don't go anywhere just yet, because our Container Orchard Masterclass is far from over. Right now, let's dive into the next Grow Food Without Sun, 15 Container Vegetable Shade Loving. Let's get started.
At number 15 is a stunning leaf-producing warrior that turns low-light conditions into a visual masterpiece, Swiss chard. For your container setup, Swiss chard requires a pot or grow bag that is 8 to 10 inches deep to give its dense, fibrous root mass enough structural stability. It grows consistently throughout the year in urban apartments, but waiting until the cooler months of the year will unlock its fastest growth cycle. The biological secret behind this plant's low-light success lies in its optical adaptation. To trap the absolute maximum number of weak, passing light photons, Swiss chard responds to shade by actively expanding the surface area of its leaves, making them broader and thinner. As it stretches to absorb light, it concentrates highly dense pigments called betalains. This chemical reaction causes the stems and veins to glow with incredibly vivid shades of ruby red, bright yellow, and neon orange. This is exactly why data published by the University of California Agriculture and Natural Resources emphasizes that Swiss chard only needs 3 to 4 hours of filtered or indirect ambient light to achieve its peak nutritional yield. By placing it in the shade, you prevent the intense heat that would otherwise cause the leaves to turn leather-like under direct, unshaded sunlight. Moving down to number 14, we have a crisp, highly nutritious Asian green that views a shaded balcony not as a limitation, but as a luxury suite, bok choy. For your container specifications, bok choy is highly accommodating. A shallow rectangular planter box or individual circular pots, just 6 to 8 inches deep, provide more than enough space for its compact root profile. It is the ultimate foolproof crop for a covered balcony, especially those facing north or east. The biological challenge with growing traditional brassicas in urban settings is that direct sunlight hitting a plastic pot rapidly cooks the soil. When bok choy experiences excessive heat and direct sun, its internal biological clock panics, causing it to immediately bolt, meaning it sends up a flower stalk, turns wood-like, and becomes intensely bitter. A shaded apartment balcony keeps the soil temperatures cool and the air humid,
allowing the stalks and leaves to stay thick, succulent, and perfectly crisp. This is precisely why the Cornell University Extension explicitly records that Asian brassicas maintain heavy vegetative growth in partial shade without any decline in their high vitamin C or antioxidant levels. Shading your pot is the exact mechanism required to guarantee a sweet, market-quality harvest. Sitting at number 13 is a gourmet salad green whose entire flavor profile is drastically improved by the absence of direct sunlight. Arugula. Your container requirements for arugula are incredibly minimal. Because its root system is shallow and wide, a simple 6-inch deep window box or recycled planter is perfect. You can sow seeds directly into the potting mix every 2 weeks for a continuous, year-round harvest right under your balcony overhang. The botanical secret to arugula, also known as rocket, lies in its pepper-like bite, which comes from a high concentration of organic compounds called isothiocyanates. When arugula is forced to grow under blazing, unshaded sun, its cells produce these compounds at an overwhelming rate as a survival response, resulting in a leaf that is intensely bitter and tough. By growing arugula in the permanent shade of your apartment building, you tame the plant's biology, slowing down the chemical synthesis to produce leaves that are beautifully tender and perfectly balanced. This is confirmed by research from the University of Illinois Extension, which proves that shading arugula extends its vegetative harvest window by up to 200%. Keeping this plant in the dark allows you to harvest fresh gourmet greens for months before the plant ever attempts to go to seed. For number 12, we look at a powerhouse crop that actively despises the sun and views a dark, damp corner as paradise: watercress. For your container setup, watercress is a semi-aquatic plant, which allows you to use a genius apartment method. Choose a solid plastic container or seedling tray with no drainage holes. Fill it with potting mix and keep the soil completely saturated with water at all times. It is perfectly adapted for dark corners or even a bathroom windowsill. To understand why this plant is an unkillable shade champion, we have to look at its natural evolutionary history. In the wild, watercress grows completely untamed along the floors of dense forests, rooted in the cold mud of heavily shaded freshwater streams. It is a certified pseuophyte, a plant structurally engineered to perform high-efficiency photosynthesis using only diffused, indirect light. If you place it under direct sun, its delicate leaves experience immediate cellular burn. This biological reality is documented by the Kew Royal Botanic Gardens, which profiles watercress as a supreme low-light green that maintains one of the highest nutrient-to-calorie densities on Earth. By flooding a drainage-free container in the deepest shadow of your balcony, you recreate its native forest floor, delivering massive doses of iron and calcium completely hidden from the sun. Just outside our top 10, at number 11, is an aromatic herb that dominates the shade by utilizing subterranean expansion: mint. For your container specifications, you want to choose a wide-mouthed pot at least 8 inches deep. Always grow mint in its own isolated container, or its aggressive roots will quickly choke out any neighboring plants. It can be grown year-round on high-rise balconies tucked completely under a concrete ceiling. New gardeners often struggle with growing culinary herbs like rosemary or thyme on apartment balconies, because those Mediterranean plants require intense sun to process their oils.
Mint is the absolute opposite. In a high-rise urban setting, direct sun is often accompanied by strong winds that dry out container soil in a matter of hours, which kills mint roots. In a shaded balcony environment, the soil retains its moisture beautifully, triggering the plant's primary survival mechanism, an aggressive network of underground running stems called runners or stolons to generate a dense carpet of aromatic foliage. This environmental adaptation is backed by the Utah State University Extension, which confirms that mint requires zero direct sunlight to expand its root crown. The shade keeps the root zone cool, which forces the plant to continuously push out fresh, oil-rich leaves instead of woody stems. We've just gone through our first 5 shade-loving urban survivors. Personally, I love growing watercress on a shaded windowsill because it completely eliminates the fear of overwatering. You literally want it to sit in mud. But what about you? Looking at these first 5 low-light champions, Swiss chard, bok choy, arugula, watercress, and mint, which one are you most excited to try in your apartment? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I check them every day. As impressive as these first 5 are, we are about to break into the top 10, where we move from basic leafy greens to perennial herbs and substantial root vegetables that possess highly unique biological mechanisms to produce food in the dark. Let's look at number 10. Breaking into our top 10 is a classic culinary herb that delivers an intense, savory flavor without demanding a single ray of direct sunlight. Chives. For your container setup, chives are exceptionally low maintenance. A standard plastic planter or a decorative ceramic pot, at least uppercase 8 inches deep, is all they need. You can harvest them continuously by taking a sharp pair of scissors and cutting the foliage down to the soil line all year round. When urban container gardeners want to grow traditional onions, they often run into a wall because bulb onions require long hours of intense solar energy to drive the chemical process of bulb expansion underground. Without sun, you get nothing but weak threads. Chives completely eliminate this energy barrier through a highly streamlined physical design. They do not waste any metabolic energy building an underground bulb. Instead, they funnel 100% of their nutrient absorption into thin, vertical, hollow leaves, meaning their light requirements are incredibly low. This is exactly why data from the Purdue University Extension highlights chives as an ideal urban crop, proving they can tolerate a 60 to 70% reduction in light compared to standard vegetables without losing their vigor. The lack of harsh sun actually prevents the leaves from becoming tough and stringy, yielding a tender, delicate onion flavor. Moving down to number 9, we have a towering, prehistoric-looking perennial herb that acts like a solar panel for shaded urban walls. Lovage. For your container specifications, because lovage develops a powerful woody taproot, it requires a substantial container, at least 10 to 12 inches deep. Plant it once in the darkest corner of your balcony, from spring to late autumn, and it will return faithfully year after year. The biological secret to lovage's low-light resilience is its massive broadleaf architecture. The plant produces highly divided, multi-layered leaves with a massive surface area. This physical design allows it to catch light from multiple angles, trapping the weak, indirect light that bounces off the concrete walls of neighboring apartment buildings. Once established, its deep root system stores immense carbohydrate reserves, allowing it to send up fresh growth early in the season while your balcony is still heavily clouded. This architectural marvel is heavily documented by the Penn State University Extension as a premier shade-tolerant perennial herb. Their research emphasizes that lovage maintains its robust, celery-like essential oil profile, even when grown in permanent partial shade, making it far superior for dark balconies than Mediterranean herbs like rosemary, which collapse without full sun. At number 8 is a moisture-loving vegetable that actually performs significantly better when hidden away from the sun: celery. To grow this successfully, your container specifications require a deep pot, at least 10 inches deep, to lock in soil moisture. Sow seeds into your containers during the cool autumn or winter months to take advantage of the natural drop in seasonal temperatures. In traditional ground gardens, celery is notoriously difficult because it demands an immense, uninterrupted supply of moisture. When exposed to the open, blazing sun of an urban patio, the soil inside a pot dries out instantly, causing the stalks to become hollow, stringy, and incredibly bitter. A shaded apartment balcony mimics the exact environment celery naturally loves. The shade keeps the container soil consistently damp and drops the ambient temperature around the foliage, ensuring that the water channels inside the ribs stay completely full. This biochemical advantage is backed by the Clemson University Cooperative Extension, which demonstrates that celery grown in partial shade produces significantly fewer bitter defense compounds and exhibits a much softer fiber structure. This means your apartment-grown celery will be noticeably crisper, juicier, and sweeter than anything you can buy at a commercial grocery store. Claiming the number 7 spot is a highly popular herb that utilizes the shade to halt its own biological countdown clock: cilantro. For your container specs, a long, shallow, rectangular window box 6 to 8 inches deep is absolutely ideal. Planted on any shaded balcony or windowsill at any point of the year, completely avoiding the traditional stress of summer gardening. For urban gardeners, cilantro can be an incredibly frustrating plant. You buy a healthy seedling, put it on a sunny windowsill, and within 2 weeks it violently shoots upward, develops white flowers, turns woody, and dies. This process is called bolting, and it is triggered by high soil temperatures and strong UV rays. When you place a container of cilantro in the permanent shade, you create a biological pause button. The cool, low-light environment tricks the plant into thinking it is permanently living in early spring, forcing it to stay in a long-term vegetative state, continuously pushing out dense, leafy rosettes. This is why the University of California Agriculture and Natural Resources explicitly recommends growing cilantro under a balcony roof or in the shadow of larger plants. Their data shows it extends the leaf harvesting lifespan by up to 300%, preventing the plant from triggering its reproductive phase prematurely. At number 6, we have a heavy-yielding superfood that uses deep chemical pigmentation to survive in the dark: lacinato kale, also widely known as dinosaur kale. For your container specifications, kale is a large plant that needs a sturdy 10 to 12 inch deep container to support its upright stalk, planted from late summer straight through the winter, allowing it to absorb the ambient light of the colder months. There is a common myth that heavy brassicas require full, unyielding sunlight to grow. While that is true for forming dense heads of cabbage, it is completely false for kale, because we only harvest its open leaves. If you look closely at the foliage of lacinato kale, you will notice its incredibly deep blue-green, almost black color. This dark coloration is caused by an intense concentration of chlorophyll A and B. In plant physics, a darker leaf color means the plant is highly optimized to absorb a wider spectrum of light waves, allowing it to efficiently photosynthesize under weak, indirect light. This cellular efficiency is proven by the Michigan State University Extension, which shows that lacinato kale can maintain steady, robust growth with as little as 3 hours of indirect light per day. The leaves grow slightly slower in the shade, but they develop a much tender texture because the plant isn't converting its natural sugars into tough cellulose to protect itself from sun damage. We are moving straight into our top 5, the absolute elite champions of low-light urban survival. The plants we've covered so far are incredible for shaded balconies, but these next 5 take it a step further. We are breaking into crops that can actively grow in the deepest shadows, including a rare Japanese heirloom, an ancient forest root, and a fast-growing superfood that performs a biological miracle right inside your living room. Let's count down the top 5. Entering our top 5 is an elegant Italian chicory that relies on the shade to preserve its vibrant color and crisp premium texture. Radicchio. For your container setup, provide an 8-inch deep individual pot for each plant to ensure proper air circulation. Plant it in late summer or early autumn as the days shorten, allowing the cooler seasonal air to assist the shade. Many urban gardeners avoid growing tightly headed brassicas because they take too long and bolt in the heat. But Radicchio belongs to the highly durable chicory family. Its unique biological trait is its high sensitivity to solar radiation. If Radicchio is grown under full, unshaded daylight, the outer leaves quickly become sun-scalded, leather-like, and develop an overwhelming chemical bitterness. The shade acts as a natural blanching mechanism, keeping the outer leaves tender while protecting the tight, compact head forming in the center. This low-light protection allows the inner leaves to develop that striking, deep burgundy red color, beautifully contrast with snow-white veins. According to the University of Florida Extension, chicory crops achieve their finest leaf definition and authentic, mildly bitter gourmet crunch specifically when shielded from direct UV rays. This makes your dark, covered balcony the absolute ideal environment to produce this high-value culinary specialty. Down at number 4, we have a permanent perennial food factory that handles the dark with absolute ease. Sorrel. To accommodate its vertical taproot, your container specifications require a deep pot or grow bag at least 12 inches deep. Plant it once in a dark corner of your balcony, and you can harvest it continuously for years without ever needing to empty or replant the pot. This sharp, lemony tangy green is built around a powerful underground root system that stores immense amounts of pure carbohydrate energy. When you place a container of sorrel on a shaded balcony, the plant triggers a fascinating physical response called shade avoidance elongation. Instead of stunting its growth, the low-light signal forces the plant to aggressively lengthen its leaf stems and expand its leaf blades in an effort to reach out for light. For the urban gardener, this means the plant is actively creating more harvestable green biomass. You get longer, larger leaves purely because the plant is sitting in the shade. This unique growth mechanism is confirmed by the Penn State University Extension, which notes that sorrel maintains its clean, sharp citrus flavor, driven by its natural concentration of oxalic acid, most consistently when kept away from direct sunlight, completely preventing the leaves from turning tough or woody. Claiming the number 3 spot is an ancient, shade-dependent root crop that views direct sunlight as an absolute death sentence. Ginger. For your container setup, ginger root spreads horizontally rather than vertically, so your container specs require a wide, shallow pot or a rectangular planter box about 10 inches deep. Plant your rhizomes in early spring and completely leave them alone in the darkest corner of your balcony. To master this plant, you have to look at its natural ecosystem. Ginger is a native of the absolute lowest layer of tropical rainforests, growing completely under the dense canopy of massive trees, where less than 10% of daylight ever reaches the ground. If you place a container of ginger out on a bright, south-facing urban balcony, its leaves will experience severe cellular bleaching and die within days. The absolute darkest, most neglected corner of your apartment balcony is its literal paradise, using the low-light environment to quietly expand its highly aromatic underground rhizomes. This deep shade requirement is proven by research from the University of Hawaii CTAHR, which demonstrates that the Zingiberaceae family achieves its maximum photosynthetic efficiency under 50 to 70% permanent shade. It is the perfect long-term, high-value root crop for completely covered urban spaces. Our runner-up at number 2 is a spectacular Japanese heirloom green that actively relies on the darkness to develop its high-end gourmet flavor profile: wasabi mustard, known botanically as wasabina. For your container specifications, wasabina has a compact growth habit, making it ideal for standard 8-inch deep pots or window boxes. Sow seeds or plant seedlings at any point from early autumn to late spring, allowing it to claim the cool shadows of your patio. If you enjoy the sharp, nasal-clearing kick of authentic Japanese wasabi, but cannot grow the notoriously temperamental wasabi root in an apartment, this leafy brassica is your ultimate solution. The molecular secret behind wasabina's low light requirement lies in its defense compounds called glucosinolates. When this specific Japanese variety is exposed to direct, unshaded urban sunlight, high soil temperatures trigger a massive chemical overdrive, making the leaves intensely tough and bitter. Shaded containers create a perfectly controlled environment, slowing down the plant's structural cellular aging while allowing the glucosinolates to develop a clean, crisp, spicy kick that mimics wasabi perfectly without any of the background bitterness. This gourmet adaptation is supported by documents from the Japan International Research Center for Agricultural Sciences, which prove that shade-cultivated wasabina produces a significantly tender leaf cuticle layer. This gives you a high-yield harvest of deeply ruffled, frilly leaves that add a premium, nose-sharp punch to urban salads. Taking the absolute crown at number 1, the ultimate champion of urban self-sufficiency that completely eliminates the need for a balcony, a yard, or a single ray of direct sunlight: microgreens. Your container specifications are the lowest on our list. A shallow plastic tray just 2 inches deep, filled with a thin layer of damp coconut coir, or even a moist paper towel. You can grow these 365 days a year entirely inside your home, placing the tray on your kitchen counter, a bookshelf, or deep inside a dark room. Microgreens are young vegetable seedlings harvested just 7 to 14 days after germination. At this tiny stage of life, the plant does not rely on photosynthesis to grow its roots or stems. Instead, it feeds entirely on the highly concentrated nutrient reserves stored inside the endosperm of the seed itself. They are completely self-powered. They will grow beautifully straight, lush, and green, using only the ambient indoor light of your apartment, making them completely independent of outdoor urban architecture. This biological phenomenon is backed by a landmark study published by the USDA, which confirms that microgreens contain up to 40 times higher concentrations of vital vitamins and nutrients compared to their fully matured counterparts. They bypass space, bypass weather, and completely vitrify the need for the sun, making them the absolute king of low-light urban gardening. Before we wrap up, let's look at a professional engineering trick to instantly double the amount of light on your shaded balcony without spending a single cent on grow lights or electricity: the light reflection technique. When you garden in a high-rise apartment, direct sunlight is blocked, but indirect ambient light is constantly bouncing around the concrete environment. Standard dark brick or gray concrete balcony walls actively absorb this precious light, wasting it. To capture it, you must turn your balcony walls into a mirror. Simply paint your balcony walls a bright, clean, matte white, or line the space directly behind your plant shelves with a sheet of highly reflective mylar, the same cheap material used in emergency space blankets. This white or silver surface catches the passing ambient light and bounces it directly back onto the underside and tops of your plant leaves. You are essentially recycling the scattered urban light, concentrating it right onto your containers, and giving your shade-loving crops a massive metabolic boost.
But don't go anywhere just yet, because our Container Orchard Masterclass is far from over. Right now, let's dive into the next 15 container vegetables to grow today for a heavy mid-August harvest. Let's get started. At number 15, we have bush beans, the ultimate fast-track vegetable for the midsummer backyard garden. When most people think of growing green beans, they picture massive, towering trellises taking up a huge footprint in a raised bed. If you only have a patio or a deck to work with, that kind of infrastructure is exhausting. Bush beans completely change the game. They are biologically programmed to stay incredibly compact and channel all of their energy directly into producing pods rather than growing long vines. The true superpower of the bush bean in the summer heat is its speed. Because they do not have to waste time building a massive vine structure, these plants go from a dry seed to a full harvest in as little as 45 to 50 days. Furthermore, they are legumes, meaning they pull nitrogen directly from the air to feed themselves. When the intense July sun hits your patio pots, these beans do not wilt. They hit the accelerator, producing an overwhelming flush of tender, crisp green beans right in the middle of August. For container mechanics, bush beans are an absolute dream. You do not need deep, heavy pots or complicated stakes. A standard 5-gallon container or a wide, shallow patio planter is perfectly fine. You can densely pack the seeds about 3 inches apart. As they grow into a tight, bushy canopy, the leaves naturally shade the potting soil, preventing the summer heat from evaporating your water too quickly. The harvest is perfectly timed for the peak of the season. In just a few weeks, you will be walking out to your back porch to snap off handfuls of fresh, crunchy beans, ready to be tossed in olive oil and thrown straight onto your backyard grill. At number 14 is bush zucchini, a heavy-hitting summer squash that has been specifically bred to solve the biggest problem container gardeners face: space. Traditional zucchini plants are notorious garden hogs. A single plant can easily sprawl 6 feet across a backyard, smothering everything in its path. But plant breeders have developed bush varieties that possess extremely short internodes. This means the leaves and fruits grow tightly packed around the center stem, giving you the massive yield of a traditional zucchini in a fraction of the space. Zucchini is famously known for its explosive growth rate, and when planted in the midsummer heat, that speed is magnified. If you plant a bush zucchini seed in a patio pot today, the warm soil will trigger germination in just 3 days. Within 45 days, the plant will start pushing out its massive yellow blossoms. The secret to a successful August harvest is to pick the zucchini when they are young, about 6 inches long. Harvesting early forces the plant into a panic, causing it to produce even more fruit to replace what you took. To successfully pull this off on a patio, you must use a large container. A 10 to 15 gallon pot is mandatory to hold enough moisture for this incredibly thirsty plant. By keeping the bush zucchini isolated in a pot on your wooden deck or concrete patio, you elevate its massive leaves off the damp ground. This dramatically increases airflow and provides a powerful natural defense against powdery mildew, a disease that destroys most in-ground zucchini plants by late summer. You get the architectural beauty of giant, tropical-looking leaves on your patio and an unstoppable supply of fresh, tender baby zucchini just in time for your late summer backyard barbecues. At number 13, we have patty pan squash, a visually stunning and incredibly fast-growing summer squash that thrives in patio containers. Many backyard gardeners skip over squash in July, assuming it requires the long, slow growing season of a winter pumpkin or a butternut squash. Patty pan is completely different. It is a rapid-fire summer variety that produces beautiful, scalloped fruits that look exactly like miniature flying saucers, making it one of the most unique and exciting crops you can grow on your back deck. The biological timeline of the patty pan squash is perfectly aligned for a midsummer sprint. From the moment the seed hits the potting soil, you are only looking at about 45 to 50 days until your first harvest. They thrive in the blistering heat that makes other plants wilt. Because they have a compact, bushy growth habit similar to bush zucchini, they concentrate their energy into rapid fruit production. The brilliant yellow or pale green squashes will begin to form at the base of the plant at an astonishing rate. Growing patty pan squash on a patio offers a spectacular visual aesthetic. The plants look incredibly ornamental, turning a functional vegetable container into a striking centerpiece for your backyard seating area. They require a wide, sturdy pot and heavy, consistent watering to support the rapid expansion of the fruit during the hottest days of August. The culinary reward of the patty pan is fantastic. While you can let them grow large, the ultimate chef's secret is to harvest them when they are tiny, just 2 to 3 inches across. At this size, they are incredibly tender, require zero peeling, and can be grilled whole alongside your steaks and burgers for the perfect, effortless mid-August patio dinner. At number 12 is the bush cucumber, an absolute necessity for the midsummer patio garden. Standard cucumbers are aggressive climbers. If you want to grow them in a traditional backyard bed, you have to build massive cattle panel trellises or tall netting, which takes a lot of time, money, and space. Bush cucumbers, such as the famous Space Master variety, completely eliminate the need for vertical infrastructure. They are genetically designed to produce short, stocky vines that only reach about 2 to 3 feet in length. This compact genetics triggers an incredibly fast harvest cycle. Because the plant does not have to spend weeks pushing vines 8 feet into the air, it begins flowering and setting fruit almost immediately. If you start these seeds in your patio containers in early July, the intense summer heat will supercharge their metabolism. You will absolutely be pulling crisp, perfectly formed cucumbers off the vines in 50 days or less, right when the August heat is at its absolute worst. The mechanics of growing bush cucumbers in a container are brilliant for patio design. Instead of forcing them to climb, you plant them near the edge of a tall, heavy pot and simply let the short vines cascade over the side. This spiller effect looks beautiful, but more importantly, it keeps the cucumbers hanging in the air. By keeping the fruit off the soil, you completely eliminate the risk of rotting and prevent soil-dwelling pests from ruining your harvest. There is nothing quite like walking out to your backyard porch in the sweltering heat of August and snapping a cool, hydrating, perfectly crisp cucumber right off the vine for a fresh summer salad. At number 11, we transition to the heat-proof greens with Swiss chard, the undisputed champion of the midsummer leafy harvest. By the time July rolls around, most backyard gardeners have completely given up on growing fresh salads. Delicate greens like spinach and butterhead lettuce simply cannot handle the heat. They bolt, turn incredibly bitter, and die. Swiss chard is the ultimate workaround. It possesses a deep, robust root system that makes it wildly tolerant of the baking sun, allowing you to grow fresh greens right on your patio when everyone else has quit. While Swiss chard is technically a biennial plant that can grow quite large over a long season, we are utilizing it here for a rapid 30-day sprint. The strategy is to plant the seeds densely in a patio planter and harvest them as baby greens. Within just 4 weeks of planting in warm summer soil, the chard will push up a thick canopy of tender, highly nutritious leaves. You simply take a pair of scissors and cut the leaves about an inch above the soil line. This triggers a cut-and-come-again cycle. The plant will immediately regenerate, pushing up a brand new flush of leaves for you to harvest again in a couple of weeks. It is a perpetual, heat-proof salad factory. Beyond its incredible heat tolerance and speed, Swiss chard is easily one of the most visually spectacular plants you can put on your deck. Varieties like Bright Lights produce stems in shocking neon shades of magenta, yellow, orange, and white. It blurs the line between a highly productive vegetable and a premium ornamental flower, bringing vibrant tropical colors to your backyard containers while delivering a flawless, mild-flavored salad in the dead of August. It is absolutely incredible how much food you can grow in the dead of summer if you just pick the right varieties. I am curious, though, have you completely given up on growing leafy greens in July, or do you have a secret heat-proof crop you rely on? Let me know down in the comments. I always love reading about your backyard setups. If you are finding value in this midsummer planting guide, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss out on these seasonal gardening hacks. Now, let's move into our next group, featuring a spectacular leafy green that actually thrives when the temperature crosses 90 degrees, and the fast-growing root veggies perfectly designed for shallow patio pots. At number 10 is red amaranth, an absolute powerhouse of a leafy green that completely defies the punishing heat of the American summer. For most backyard gardeners, July marks the tragic end of their spinach harvests. The moment the temperature spikes, standard spinach bolts, turns incredibly bitter and dies. Red amaranth is the ultimate midsummer replacement. It actually originates from tropical climates, meaning that while your other plants are wilting and begging for shade, the amaranth is hitting the accelerator, soaking up the heat to fuel its explosive growth. The timeline for harvesting amaranth on a patio perfectly aligns with our 45-day sprint strategy. If you sow the tiny black seeds directly into a warm container today, germination happens in just a few days. Instead of waiting for the plant to reach its massive mature height, we are treating this as a cut-and-come-again crop. In just 30 to 40 days, the pot will be overflowing with tender young leaves. You can aggressively shear the top of the canopy with scissors, and the heat will force it to rapidly regrow for another harvest before August is over. From a patio design perspective, red amaranth is breathtaking. The leaves are a brilliant, striking shade of deep magenta and crimson. When planted thickly in a large, decorative pot on your back deck, it looks exactly like a high-end, exotic ornamental plant, completely hiding the fact that it is actually a highly productive vegetable. The culinary reward is fantastic. The young leaves taste remarkably similar to standard spinach, but with a deeper, slightly earthier flavor. They are incredibly rich in iron and perfect for tossing into fresh summer salads or quickly wilting down in a hot wok for an effortless patio dinner. At number 9, we have baby bok choy, a remarkably fast-growing Asian green that provides a heavy, satisfying crunch in the middle of summer. Traditional brassicas, like standard cabbage or broccoli, require a long, cool growing season and are notoriously difficult to cultivate in the heat of July. Baby bok choy circumvents this problem entirely through sheer speed. By selecting the baby or dwarf varieties, you are completely changing the biological timeline, allowing you to secure a massive harvest before the summer heat can cause the plant to bolt. The speed of baby bok choy is staggering. From the day you plant the seeds in your patio container, you are only looking at exactly 30 to 35 days until maturity. The warm summer soil supercharges its initial growth phase. Because the mature plant is designed to be small, usually only growing about 4 to 6 inches tall, it channels all of its energy into forming thick, juicy, crisp stems almost immediately. For the container gardener, this is one of the most space-efficient crops in existence. Because of its tiny footprint and shallow root system, you do not need massive, heavy planters. Baby bok choy thrives in shallow window boxes or long patio troughs. You can pack the seeds tightly, creating a dense, beautiful wall of vibrant green leaves that visually cools down your backyard space. The dense planting also naturally shades the potting soil, helping to retain crucial moisture during the baking afternoon heat. However, like all brassicas, baby bok choy can panic in the direct afternoon heat. Tuck this container on the east-facing side of your patio so it only gets the morning sun, and it will mature flawlessly before bolting. The harvest experience is incredibly rewarding. You simply pull the entire miniature head right out of the soil. They are exceptionally tender, requiring almost zero prep work. Just slice them in half, toss them in a little sesame oil, and throw them straight onto your backyard grill for the ultimate fast food summer side dish. At number 8 is the Parisian carrot, a brilliant, unconventional root vegetable that was practically custom-engineered for shallow patio containers. Carrots are traditionally a highly frustrating crop for backyard gardeners. Standard varieties take an agonizing 80 to 90 days to mature, and if the soil in your pots isn't perfectly loose and at least a foot deep, the roots will stunt and deform. Parisian carrots solve both of these massive problems instantly. They do not grow long and pointy. They grow perfectly round, exactly the size and shape of a golf ball. This unique, spherical geometry completely changes the growing timeline, Because the plant does not have to expend massive amounts of energy pushing a taproot deep into hard soil, it reaches maturity incredibly fast. If you plant the seeds in early July, the warm soil will ensure rapid germination, and you will absolutely be pulling these adorable round carrots out of the dirt in about 50 days, hitting our mid-August deadline perfectly. The container mechanics of the Parisian carrot are a game changer. Because they only require a few inches of depth, you can utilize the most inexpensive, shallow pots on your patio. A standard 6-inch deep window box hanging on your porch railing is more than enough space to produce dozens of these sweet, round roots. It completely opens up vertical gardening options for root vegetables. The culinary value of a midsummer Parisian carrot harvest is phenomenal. Because they are harvested young and grow so quickly, they are exceptionally sweet and lack the woody, bitter core of older carrots. They are so tender that they do not even require peeling. You simply wash them off and roast them whole with a little rosemary from your patio, creating a gourmet, high-end side dish in record time. At number 7, we have Hacquaré turnips, a fast-track gourmet root crop that will completely shatter your preconceived notions about what a turnip tastes like. When most Americans think of turnips, they imagine massive, bitter, tough winter roots that require hours of boiling and mashing to be edible. The hacquaré, often called the Japanese salad turnip, is the exact opposite. It is an incredibly delicate, fast-growing, snow-white root that is highly prized by chefs and thrives beautifully when planted for a late summer sprint. The growth rate of the hacquaré turnip is nothing short of explosive. It is one of the fastest maturing vegetables on this entire list. From the moment you scatter the seeds across the surface of your potting soil, you are only 35 to 40 days away from a complete harvest. The intense heat of July actually accelerates the development of the lush green tops, which in turn rapidly pump energy down into the forming root. Hacquaré turnips are incredibly well suited for container gardening. They only need about a 6-inch depth, meaning a standard medium-sized patio pot can yield a massive amount of food. You can scatter the seeds relatively thickly, and as they grow, simply thin out the weakest plants. The dense canopy of the turnip greens acts as a living mulch, aggressively protecting the container soil from the drying rays of the August sun. The harvest will shock you. You pull them when they are about the size of a large radish. The flesh is incredibly crisp, juicy, and surprisingly sweet, with a texture similar to a fresh apple. You do not cook them. You slice them raw right into your midsummer salads. Furthermore, the lush green tops are entirely edible and make a fantastic sauté, giving you a highly productive 2-for-1 harvest in just over a month. At number 6 are beets, a phenomenal, highly nutritious root crop that we are going to exploit using a specialized double harvest sprint strategy. Many backyard gardeners avoid planting beets in July because they assume the massive baseball-sized roots will not mature before the weather turns cold. However, when growing in patio containers for a rapid midsummer harvest, we are not aiming for massive woody roots. We are specifically targeting baby beets and premium salad greens, turning a slow crop into a 45-day high-yield factory. The first phase of the sprint happens just 30 days after planting. Beets, especially varieties like bull's blood, produce absolutely stunning, dark purple and red-veined leaves. At the 1-month mark, these leaves are young, tender, and pack a deeply earthy, sweet flavor. You can safely harvest the outer leaves for your summer salads without killing the plant. The second phase hits at the 45 to 50-day mark. At this point in mid-August, the underground beet will be the exact size of a golf ball. This is the absolute perfect time to pull them out of your patio pots. Growing beets in containers is highly effective because potting soil is naturally loose, preventing the hard, compacted dirt issues that often stunt backyard root crops. You can plant them in a wide, shallow bowl on your deck. The deep magenta foliage provides a stunning, dramatic visual contrast against the typical bright greens of your other patio plants. Harvesting baby beets is a culinary revelation. Because they are pulled fast and young, they are incredibly tender and sweet, cooking in half the time of mature beets. Scrub them clean, toss them in foil with olive oil, and throw them directly onto your backyard grill for a caramelized, earthy side dish that perfectly complements your late summer barbecue. We have covered heavy-yielding bush veggies and roots that grow perfectly in shallow pots under the blazing sun. But as we enter our top 5, we are shifting gears. We are looking at the ultimate summer cheats. We will start with a brilliant kitchen scrap hack that yields fresh food in just 20 days, followed by our top 4 crops where we use a genius patio shadow strategy to trick cool weather plants into thriving in the dead of August. At number 5 is the green onion, also known as the scallion, which offers the absolute fastest turnaround time of any plant on this entire list. If you are looking to sprint to a mid-August harvest, starting seeds from scratch can sometimes feel too slow. We are going to bypass the germination phase entirely by using a brilliant kitchen hack. By utilizing the root scraps of scallions you bought from the grocery store, you can trigger a massive, explosive regrowth cycle right on your backyard deck in less than 3 weeks. The biological mechanics of this cheat code are incredibly simple. When you chop up scallions for your summer salads, leave about 1 inch of the white bulb intact with the little roots attached at the bottom. The plant has already spent months developing that root system. When you press those white root ends into the warm potting soil of your patio containers, the plant registers the intense summer heat and immediately channels 100% of its stored energy into pushing up brand new, dark green shoots at a terrifying speed. Because the root systems are completely established and highly compact, scallions require practically zero dedicated space. You can literally poke them into the empty edges of your large tomato pots or tuck them into the corners of your floral planters. They act as the ultimate filler crop, taking up no extra patio footprint while aggressively pulling in moisture and nutrients to fuel their rapid growth. In exactly 15 to 20 days, those tiny white nubs will have exploded into towering, vibrant green onions, ready to be snipped with scissors. You can use this cut-and-come-again method repeatedly, guaranteeing a perpetual supply of fresh, sharp garnish for your grilled baked potatoes all summer long. At number 4, we have the French breakfast radish, bringing us to the first of our shade-grown cheats. If you read any traditional gardening book, it will tell you that planting radishes in July is a terrible mistake because the summer sun will cause them to instantly bolt, turning the roots woody and incredibly spicy. But as container gardeners, we have a massive advantage. By intentionally hiding our radish seeds in the shadows of our larger patio plants, we completely manipulate the microclimate, forcing the radishes to mature perfectly in just 25 days. The science behind this shade cheat is brilliant. During the midsummer sprint, we do not want the direct, scorching afternoon sun hitting the soil. Instead, you plant your radish seeds directly underneath the canopy of a massive potted tomato or pepper plant on your deck. The broad leaves of the larger plant act like a biological umbrella. They block the intense UV rays, which actually lowers the temperature of the potting soil underneath by up to 10 degrees. The radish seed feels this cool, shaded soil and is completely tricked into thinking it is still springtime. This underplanting strategy is a masterpiece of patio efficiency. Radishes have extremely shallow roots, so they will not compete with your deep-rooted tomatoes for nutrients. Instead, the fast-growing radish canopy acts as a living mulch, shading the surface of the container and locking in vital moisture during the baking August heat waves. In a staggering 25 to 30 days, right when the summer heat is at its worst, you will be pulling up gorgeous, elongated, pink and white radishes. Because they grew fast and in the shade, they will be incredibly crisp, juicy, and refreshingly mild, the perfect cooling crunch for your backyard picnics. At number 3 is Arugula, the peppery gourmet salad green that most gardeners abandon completely by the end of June. Arugula notoriously hates the summer heat. If you plant it in the middle of a sun-drenched backyard, it will throw up white flowers and turn bitterly inedible in a matter of days. However, when we apply the patio shadow strategy, Arugula transforms into an unstoppable, highly productive 30-day crop that will easily fuel your late summer harvests. To pull off this cheat, we are relying on the mobility of container gardening. Unlike raised beds that are permanently stuck in the baking sun, patio pots can be moved. You sow your arugula seeds thickly into a wide, shallow bowl. Then, you physically move that bowl into the deepest, coolest shade your backyard has to offer, whether that is tucked behind a large patio chair, underneath an awning, or in the shadow of a large deck railing. The ambient heat of the summer air will cause the seeds to germinate in just 48 hours, but the complete lack of direct sunlight prevents the plant from panicking and bolting. This heavily shaded environment forces the arugula to focus entirely on leaf production. Because the plant is desperately trying to maximize its surface area to catch whatever indirect light it can find, the leaves grow incredibly tender, broad, and lush. You maintain the soil moisture, and the plant simply explodes. In exactly 4 weeks, you will have a dense, overflowing container of premium baby arugula. The heavy shade ensures the leaves retain a pleasant, nutty, and mildly peppery flavor, giving you the ultimate gourmet topping for your homemade, wood-fired patio pizzas right in the middle of August. At number 2, we introduce mustard greens, a fiercely fast-growing leafy vegetable that utilizes a specific partial shade sprint strategy. Standard mustard greens are incredibly vigorous, but they are highly sensitive to the intense afternoon sun of late July, which usually triggers them to immediately produce yellow seed pods. By deliberately controlling the light exposure on your patio, you can harness their aggressive growth speed while completely shutting down their desire to flower, resulting in a massive harvest in just over a month. The biological trick here is exploiting the morning sun. You want to place your container of mustard greens on the east-facing side of your backyard porch. This positioning allows the plant to soak up the cool, gentle rays of the morning sun from sunrise until about noon, fueling rapid photosynthesis. But the moment the brutal, scorching heat of the 2 p.m. afternoon sun rolls around, the porch roof or the house itself casts a deep shadow over the pot. This precise light manipulation gives the plant the energy it needs to grow without the heat stress that causes bolting. For the midsummer sprint, you must sow the seeds very densely in a standard medium-sized container. Because the warm July soil triggers germination almost instantly, you will see green sprouts in a matter of days. By heavily watering the container every single morning, the rapid evaporation creates a micro-level cooling effect directly above the leaves. The result is a stunningly fast 35-day turnaround. By mid-August, you will be aggressively harvesting handfuls of these vibrant, spicy leaves. They deliver a brilliant horseradish-like kick that is absolutely perfect for blending into summer slaws or serving alongside rich, slow-smoked BBQ meats on the deck. At number 1, securing the crown as the ultimate 45-day midsummer cheat crop is loose-leaf lettuce. If you tell a traditional farmer you are planting lettuce from seed in the middle of July for an August harvest, they will tell you it is impossible. Lettuce seed usually refuses to even germinate if the soil temperature is over 80 degrees. But by utilizing the ultimate mobility and environmental control of a backyard patio, you can secure an endless supply of fresh, crisp salads exactly when store-bought lettuce is wilting and wildly expensive. The secret to this holy grail of summer harvesting is the indoor-outdoor cheat. To bypass the soil temperature issue, you start your loose-leaf lettuce seeds inside your air-conditioned house in a shallow patio planter. The cool indoor air tricks the seeds into germinating flawlessly in just 3 days. Once they sprout into tiny green seedlings, you carry the planter outside to your back porch, placing it in the absolute coolest, permanent shade you can find, tucked under a heavy patio table or beneath a dense, leafy tree. We specifically choose loose-leaf varieties like black-seeded Simpson or salad bowl because they never try to form a tight, central head. They simply push up individual leaves. The ambient heat of the August air, combined with the deep, protective shade, causes these individual leaves to grow at a terrifying pace. Because the direct sun never touches them, they remain incredibly crisp, sweet, and perfectly hydrated. This is the absolute pinnacle of lazy, smart container gardening. In 40 days, you simply walk out to the shaded corner of your deck with a pair of scissors and give the lettuce a haircut. It will immediately regrow, providing you with a continuous, zero-effort, impossibly fresh summer salad all the way through the blazing month of August. Do not let the summer heat convince you that your gardening season is over. The middle of July is not the end of the line. It is the starting gun for the 45-day midsummer sprint. By utilizing fast-growing bush varieties, shallow root crops, and the brilliant shade-grown cheats on your patio, you can completely revive your empty containers and guarantee a massive, bountiful harvest right in the middle of August. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these fast-track crops are you going to plant this weekend? Are you going for the explosive growth of the bush zucchini? Or are you going to try the shade-grown radish cheat under your tomatoes? Let me know your game plan down in the comments below. But don't go anywhere just yet, because our Container Orchard Masterclass is far from over. Right now, let's dive into the next 15 vegetables that produce the most in containers. Let's get started.
Kicking off our countdown at number 15 is a crop usually reserved for gourmet chefs: shallots. Most people think of shallots as expensive little onions sold in grocery stores and used by professional chefs. What many gardeners don't realize is that they're also one of the smartest crops for container growing. Unlike large onions that typically produce one bulb per plant, shallots multiply. Plant one small bulb in spring, and by harvest time, you may uncover a cluster of several new bulbs beneath the soil. That's one reason experienced gardeners love them. The return feels almost magical. Containers make shallots even more productive because they provide the loose, well-draining soil these plants prefer. In heavy garden soil, bulbs can struggle to expand properly. In containers, root development is often more consistent, leading to larger harvests. Another advantage is space efficiency. Shallots grow vertically and don't require huge containers. A medium-sized pot can hold multiple plants while still producing an impressive harvest. They also store extremely well after harvest, meaning the value continues long after the growing season ends. And because shallots are used in everything from soups and sauces to roasted vegetables and salad dressings, they're one of those crops that rarely go to waste. Many gardeners start with a few bulbs and quickly discover they're harvesting several times more than they planted. That's the kind of productivity that earns a place on this list. Moving down to number 14, let's talk about edamame. Most people know edamame from sushi restaurants or grocery store freezer aisles. But few realize how productive these soybean plants can be in containers. Unlike sprawling vegetables that require trellises and constant management, edamame grows as a compact bush that fits neatly into pots. That makes it ideal for gardeners working with limited space. What makes edamame special is the amount of nutrition packed into every harvest. Each pod contains protein-rich beans that are both delicious and filling. And because multiple plants can grow together in a single container, yields add up surprisingly fast. Another advantage is reliability. Edamame handles summer heat well and tends to experience fewer disease problems than many common garden vegetables. Once flowering begins, clusters of pods start forming all over the plant. Then more flowers appear, then more pods. By the end of the season, gardeners are often shocked by how many pods they harvest from just a few containers. There's also a unique satisfaction that comes from growing your own edamame. Instead of buying frozen beans from the store, you're harvesting fresh pods straight from the plant. For container gardeners looking for something productive, nutritious, and a little different from the usual vegetables, edamame is an easy choice. Sitting at number 13 is a cool weather powerhouse that rarely gets the respect it deserves: fava beans. Fava beans don't receive nearly as much attention as green beans, but they deserve far more recognition than they get. These plants are surprisingly productive, especially in cooler seasons when many other vegetables struggle. One reason gardeners appreciate fava beans is their versatility. Young pods can be harvested early, while mature beans provide a much larger harvest later in the season. That flexibility allows gardeners to choose how they want to use the crop. Containers offer several benefits for fava beans. Good drainage helps prevent root problems, while portable containers allow gardeners to position plants for maximum sunlight. Another advantage is soil improvement. Like many legumes, fava beans help fix nitrogen, improving soil fertility naturally. That's good for the beans and beneficial for future crops as well. Productivity is where these plants really shine. A healthy container can support several plants, each covered in flowers that eventually become long pods packed with beans. The harvest often exceeds expectations, particularly for gardeners trying fava beans for the first time. And because the plants perform well during cooler weather, they help extend the productive season when many summer vegetables aren't yet growing. That's one reason experienced gardeners continue coming back to fava beans year after year. For number 12, get ready for a visual surprise. the lemon cucumber. If you've never seen a lemon cucumber before, the first thing you'll notice is that it doesn't look like a cucumber at all. The fruit is round, bright yellow, and resembles a lemon more than a traditional cucumber. But don't let the appearance fool you. This is one of the most productive cucumber varieties you can grow in containers. Once the vines become established, they seem determined to produce fruit non-stop. Containers work particularly well because they allow gardeners to grow lemon cucumbers vertically. A simple trellis transforms a small footprint into a highly productive growing system. Better airflow reduces disease pressure, while vertical growth keeps fruit cleaner and easier to harvest. What surprises most gardeners is the sheer number of cucumbers a healthy plant can produce. New flowers appear constantly. Every flower has the potential to become another fruit. Harvest frequently, and the plant responds by producing even more. The result is a steady stream of crisp, mild cucumbers throughout the season. They're excellent for fresh eating, salads, and pickling. And because their unusual appearance catches people's attention, they're often conversation starters in the garden as well. Productivity plus curiosity is a powerful combination, and lemon cucumbers deliver both. At number 11 is an absolute machine of a plant, the Armenian cucumber. Despite the name, Armenian cucumbers aren't actually true cucumbers. They're a type of melon that behaves very much like a cucumber. And when it comes to container production, they're absolute machines. One of the biggest advantages of Armenian cucumbers is their vigor. Given a trellis and adequate sunlight, these vines grow aggressively and produce long, elegant fruits throughout the season. Many gardeners discover that they remain productive even during periods of intense summer heat, when standard cucumber varieties begin slowing down. Containers help maximize that productivity by improving drainage and allowing vertical growth. Instead of sprawling across the ground, vines climb upward, creating a living wall of foliage and fruit. This not only saves space, but also improves airflow and makes harvesting much easier. Another reason gardeners love Armenian cucumbers is fruit quality. The cucumbers remain tender even at larger sizes, which means you don't have to rush outside every day to harvest them. A single healthy plant can produce an astonishing amount of food over the course of a season. That's exactly what container gardeners want: maximum production from minimum space. And while Armenian cucumbers are impressive, the next crop takes productivity to an entirely different level. Breaking into the top 10 is a crop that looks almost too cute to be real, but produces like a monster: cucamelons. At first glance, cucamelons look almost too cute to be real. These tiny fruits resemble miniature watermelons, but they taste like crisp cucumbers with a hint of citrus. Most gardeners grow them because they're unusual. What keeps them growing them year after year is the incredible productivity. Once cucamelon vines become established, they produce hundreds of tiny fruits over the course of a season. In fact, many gardeners underestimate them early on because the plants start slowly. Then summer arrives, the vines take off, and suddenly the plant is covered in fruit. That's one reason cucamelons perform so well in containers. They naturally climb, making them perfect for trellises, cages, and vertical gardening systems. Instead of taking up valuable ground space, they grow upward, turning a single container into a highly productive food source. Another advantage is their resilience. Cucamelons handle heat well, tolerate occasional neglect, and experience fewer pest problems than many traditional cucumbers. The fruits are also harvested continuously. Every few days, more are ready to pick. Then more appear. Then more again. By the end of the season, many gardeners realize they've harvested far more fruit than they expected from such a small container. Few crops combine novelty, beauty, and productivity as effectively as cucamelons.
Down at number 9 is the ultimate hidden harvest, the Jerusalem artichoke. Despite its name, this plant is neither from Jerusalem nor an artichoke. It's actually a type of sunflower that produces edible underground tubers. And when it comes to productivity, it's one of the most impressive crops on this list. Many gardeners are shocked by the harvest hidden beneath the soil. Plant a few tubers in a large container, and months later you may uncover pounds of fresh food. That's one reason Jerusalem artichokes have become favorites among self-sufficiency gardeners. The plants themselves are vigorous and fast-growing, often reaching impressive heights during the season. Their bright yellow flowers also add ornamental value, making them attractive as well as productive. Containers help control their growth, which is important because Jerusalem artichokes can spread aggressively when planted directly in the ground. By growing them in containers, gardeners enjoy all the benefits without worrying about them taking over garden beds. Another advantage is storage. The harvested tubers can remain usable for extended periods, adding even more value to an already productive crop. For gardeners seeking maximum calories and substantial harvests from a single planting, few container crops can compete with Jerusalem artichokes. Claiming the number 8 spot is a winter favorite that surprisingly loves containers: delicata squash. Most people think winter squash requires huge gardens and endless space. Delicata squash proves otherwise. This variety is surprisingly container-friendly when grown vertically, and once fruit production begins, the harvest can be impressive. Unlike some winter squash varieties that produce enormous fruits, delicata produces manageable, elongated squash that develop beautifully on trellised vines. This allows gardeners to grow vertically and maximize production in a limited area. Another advantage is efficiency. The fruits store exceptionally well after harvest, meaning the rewards continue long after the growing season ends. Many gardeners enjoy eating delicata throughout fall and winter from plants grown months earlier in containers. Productivity increases significantly when plants receive full sunlight and consistent watering. Healthy vines generate a steady stream of flowers, many of which eventually become mature squash. The striped fruits are attractive, flavorful, and highly versatile in the kitchen. Roasted, stuffed, baked, or grilled, delicata squash offers tremendous value from every container. For gardeners wanting both beauty and production, this crop deserves serious consideration. At number 7, we have the flying saucer of the garden, patty pan squash. Few vegetables attract attention quite like patty pan squash. Its unusual flying saucer shape makes it look more like a decoration than a vegetable.
But behind that unique appearance lies one of the most productive container crops you can grow. Patty pan squash belongs to the summer squash family, which means it shares the same powerful productivity that makes zucchini famous. Once flowering begins, fruit seems to appear almost overnight. Harvest young squash regularly, and the plant responds by producing even more flowers and even more fruit. Containers work particularly well because they improve drainage and make monitoring plant health easier. With adequate sunlight and nutrition, a single plant can generate an astonishing number of squash throughout the season. Another advantage is harvest flexibility. Young fruits are tender and ideal for fresh cooking, while slightly larger fruits remain delicious and versatile. Many gardeners discover they have more squash than they know what to do with. That's exactly the type of problem a productive gardener likes to have. Patty pan squash combines high yields, unique appearance, and excellent flavor in one highly rewarding package. Coming in at number 6 is a plant most people only recognize in their bathroom, but it's actually an edible powerhouse. Loofah. Most people know loofah as the natural sponge used in bathrooms and kitchens. What surprises many gardeners is that before it becomes a sponge, it's actually a highly productive vegetable. When harvested young, loofah can be eaten much like zucchini, with a mild flavor and tender texture. But productivity is where this plant truly shines. Given a large container, rich soil, and a sturdy trellis, loofah vines grow with incredible vigor. During the peak of summer, they can climb several feet in just a matter of weeks, covering trellises with dense foliage and bright yellow flowers. Each flower has the potential to become another fruit, and healthy plants often produce dozens of long gourds throughout the season. Containers work surprisingly well because they allow gardeners to manage soil quality while taking full advantage of vertical growing space. Instead of spreading across the ground, the vines grow upward, turning a single container into a towering food-producing machine. Another advantage is versatility. Harvest young fruits for the kitchen or allow them to mature into natural sponges that can be used around the home. Few container crops provide both food and a useful household product from the same plant. That's what makes loofah so unique. For gardeners looking to maximize production while growing something truly memorable, loofah is one of the most rewarding crops they can plant. At number 5, we have New Zealand spinach. Most gardeners think spinach is strictly a cool weather crop. Planted in summer and it quickly bolts, turns bitter, and disappears long before the season is over. That's exactly why New Zealand spinach is such a hidden gem for container gardeners. Despite its name, it isn't actually true spinach, but it performs a similar role in the kitchen while thriving under conditions that would destroy regular spinach. As temperatures climb, New Zealand spinach continues growing vigorously, producing tender, edible leaves for months. That's what makes it so productive. Instead of harvesting a single crop and replanting, gardeners can keep picking leaves again and again throughout the growing season. Containers are an ideal environment for this plant because they provide excellent drainage while allowing gardeners to place the crop wherever sunlight conditions are best. Once established, the plant begins spreading outward, filling containers with lush growth. Every harvest encourages even more branching, creating additional stems and more leaves to harvest later. Another advantage is resilience. New Zealand spinach tolerates heat, occasional drought, and periods of neglect better than many traditional leafy greens. During the hottest weeks of summer, When lettuce and spinach have long disappeared, this plant often continues producing fresh greens. For gardeners looking for a dependable source of leafy harvest throughout the season, New Zealand spinach delivers far more food than most people expect from a single container. For number 4, we bring in a vine that is as beautiful as it is productive: the scarlet runner bean. Most vegetables on this list are grown primarily for food. Scarlet runner beans offer something extra. They produce food while also becoming one of the most beautiful plants in the entire garden. The brilliant red flowers attract hummingbirds, butterflies, and pollinators from all around the yard. But beauty is only part of the story. What really earns scarlet runner beans a top position is productivity. Given a trellis and a large container, these vigorous vines can climb 10 feet or more while producing an astonishing number of pods. Every week seems to bring new flowers, followed by another wave of harvestable beans. Another reason gardeners love scarlet runner beans is the long harvest season. Unlike crops that produce one large harvest and stop, these vines continue flowering and fruiting for months under favorable conditions. That means repeated harvests from the same container throughout much of the growing season. The pods can be harvested young like green beans, while mature seeds can be saved and cooked as shell beans later. Few vegetables provide this level of versatility. Add in the spectacular flowers, and scarlet runner beans become one of the most rewarding crops any container gardener can grow. At number 3, we have sorrel. While many gardeners focus on vegetables that produce large fruits or heavy roots, sorrel takes a completely different approach. It earns its place on this list through relentless production. Once established, sorrel can provide harvest after harvest of fresh leaves for an incredibly long period of time. In fact, many gardeners consider it one of the most productive leafy crops they grow. The leaves have a bright, lemony flavor that adds something completely different to salads, soups, sauces, and fresh dishes. What makes sorrel especially valuable for container gardening is its ability to keep producing when many other greens struggle. It tolerates cool temperatures, handles moderate heat, and rebounds quickly after harvesting. Every time you remove outer leaves, the plant responds by generating new growth from the center. This cycle can continue for months, creating a steady supply of fresh greens from a relatively small container. Another reason sorrel stands out is longevity. Unlike many annual vegetables that need replanting every season, sorrel can continue producing year after year with proper care. That means one planting can generate countless harvests over time. Productivity isn't always measured by the size of individual fruits. Sometimes it's measured by consistency, and few container crops are more consistent than sorrel. For gardeners who value dependable harvests and long-term production, sorrel is one of the smartest plants they can grow. The runner-up at number 2 is a master of disguise with an unbelievable yield: the tomatillos. Many gardeners have heard of tomatillos, but never actually grown them. That's unfortunate, because they may be one of the most productive container crops on this entire list. A healthy tomatillo plant often becomes absolutely loaded with fruit. But there is one strict rule: tomatillos cannot self-pollinate. You absolutely must plant at least 2 of them in your container garden, or you'll get endless flowers and 0 fruit. Unlike tomatoes, where each fruit is immediately visible, tomatillos develop inside papery husks that hide their true numbers. At first glance, the plant may not seem especially productive. Then, harvest season arrives, and gardeners suddenly realize just how many fruits have been forming all along. It's not uncommon for a single mature plant to produce dozens upon dozens of tomatillos. Under ideal conditions, harvest totals can exceed 100 fruits from a single plant. That's a remarkable return from one container. Another advantage is resilience. Tomatillos tolerate heat well, grow vigorously, and generally experience fewer problems than many traditional tomatoes. Their sprawling growth habit actually adapts surprisingly well to large containers when paired with cages or supports. Gardeners who try tomatillos for the first time often become lifelong fans because the harvest is so much larger than expected. And that brings us to the #1 container producer on today's list. And finally, taking the absolute crown at #1, a vertical monster with unbelievable yields, chayote. If there is one vegetable that perfectly demonstrates how productive container gardening can be, it's chayote. Many gardeners have never grown it, and those who haven't are often shocked when they discover what a single vine is capable of producing. Under the right conditions, one healthy chayote plant can generate dozens upon dozens of fruits over a single growing season. Some experienced growers report harvests so large that they end up sharing fruit with friends, neighbors, and family members. That's the kind of productivity we're talking about. What makes chayote especially impressive is its relentless growth habit. Once the vine becomes established, it seems determined to climb higher, spread farther, and produce more fruit every week. Containers help control that vigorous growth, while still allowing gardeners to enjoy remarkable harvests. A strong trellis is essential because mature vines quickly become loaded with foliage and fruit. As summer progresses, flowers appear continuously, followed by a steady stream of harvestable chayotes. Another reason this crop earns the #1 position is versatility. The fruits can be roasted, sautéed, stuffed, added to soups, or used in countless recipes. In many parts of the world, chayote is considered one of the most dependable food-producing plants available. For container gardeners seeking maximum harvests from minimum space, few vegetables can compete with what a single chayote vine can accomplish. That's why it earns the top spot on today's countdown.
The biggest mistake many gardeners make is believing they need more land to grow more food. But as you've seen today, some of the most productive crops in the garden don't require raised beds, large backyards, or acres of space. A few well-placed containers can produce an astonishing amount of food when you choose the right plants. Whether it's the endless harvests of New Zealand spinach, the surprising productivity of tomatillos, the towering vines of loofah, or the incredible yields of chayote, these crops prove that container gardening is far more powerful than most people realize. In many cases, a small patio or balcony can produce more food than an entire section of a traditional garden. The secret isn't growing more plants, it's growing smarter plants. Imagine stepping outside throughout the season and harvesting fresh cucumbers, beans, leafy greens, squash, and dozens of other vegetables from containers you've already set up. No endless weeding, no massive garden beds,
just a steady supply of fresh food growing right outside your door. And that's what makes container gardening so rewarding. Every container becomes an opportunity. Every harvest becomes proof that you don't need a huge property to grow a surprising amount of food. Now we'd love to hear from you. Which vegetable from today's list surprised you the most? Was it the productivity of chayote, the unique versatility of loofah, or the hidden potential of crops like sorrel and tomatillo? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this countdown, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because in our next video, we'll reveal 15 vegetables that are almost impossible to kill in containers. Some of these plants can survive heat, drought, neglect, and beginner mistakes while still producing impressive harvests. You won't want to miss that one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next garden.